You're watching Speed's coverage of Speed Weeks, presented by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Daytona 500 pole sitter Mark Martin climbs aboard for this practice run. Outside pole sitter Dale Jr. getting ready to roll. As compared to the last practice you saw on Speed, things will be different. Hi, everybody. With Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, I'm Mike Joy. This single car, how fast can you go? Get ready to run for the pole practice. Over and done with. Now, we're going to find out about drafting, about bump drafting, and not bump till you drafting like we saw last Saturday night.
Yeah, this is called practice, and I don't need no stinking practice. I'm like Kevin Harvick. I'm gonna get sick and lay over in the coach and let somebody else do all the heavy lifting. And when the car gets right, I'll show up and win the race. So that's the way I'd like to do it. But Larry, you know, like I do, you got to get out here. You got to get amongst them. You got to see what you got.
Yeah, I mean, we've been here almost a week, and these race cars, for the most part, because these are not the Budweiser shootout cars, they've had a total of 4 laps. 2 laps of practice before the rains moved in on Friday, and then basically 2 laps of qualifying. These are not the shootout cars. Yeah, the safest place for these cars are in the garage area during this practice, but we have to get out there. We have to make long runs because we saw some evil driving race cars Saturday night in the shootout.
Yeah, you just don't know what your car is going to do. I mean, it's pretty comfortable, but you don't know what it's going to do until you get in there with 8 or 10 other guys, and somebody's pushing, somebody's pulling, and somebody's shoving you a little bit.
For some of these drivers, 39 of them to be exact, these practice runs are to work on setup and to get ready to race. But for the rest of the 54-car field, it's nail-biting time because those drivers don't know if they're going to be in the Daytona 500, and they've got 2 chances left to make the show.
And you know, I said Saturday night for the Bud Shootout, it was dancing with the cars. This truly is right now. You'll get with different people. You want to find out, who do I run well with? Do I run better pushing Tony Stewart, or do I run better with Jimmy Johnson behind me? Am I good behind a Ford? Am I good behind a Dodge, a Toyota? You know, you just kind of play the game right now, trying to figure out what's the best scenario.
Quick look at our Gillette track description. As cars are on track, logging laps. The Daytona International Speedway is 2.5 miles around, as you know. And did you know the straightaways were slightly banked for drainage?
That's amazing. 18 degrees of banking in the tri-oval alone right here at the start-finish line area. I don't think we realize it has that much banking. There's a lot of tracks we go to. They don't have that much banking in the corner.
No, when you go down after the race, for instance, and if you decide to go across here to the infield, that is a steep incline. I've seen people tumble down that little incline right there. 18 degrees, a lot of banking, and boy, are they already mixing it up? Oh no, it was Carl in the 99 there, getting a plug check.
Tell you what I do see at the front of this pack, I see all 4 of the Hendrick cars. You know, last year in 2009, Hendrick came here. You see Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the inside falling back a little bit, but they were off last year with their restrictor plate program. But they came here loaded for bear. All 4 in the top 10. Throw Ryan Newman in the mix with the 39 car with their engine package. 5 of the top 10.
I tell you, and Dale Jr., he's got to find a setup that he can race. Because the other night, I mean, you know, he was on the front row with he and Mark Martin on the front row. But, man, when that green flag dropped for the Bud Shootout, his car was not good. He fell back, and he couldn't drive it. Same old complaint. Something about the right front wasn't right, and the car wasn't hooking up. They got to fix that thing somehow.
And in fairness, that was a completely different Hendrick Motorsports Chevy and completely different setup than what they had in qualifying. But I agree with you, Darrell. That's job one right now for that team, is to have a car that Dale Jr. can be comfortable with and drive and draft with.
I would put him out there in what I think could be a good, you know, whatever I think would be right for the car. I would tell him to stay out there for at least 20 laps. Don't go out and run 8, 10, 15 laps and come back in. And get out there and make a long run, because that's where he had trouble, was at the 20-lap mark the other night.
Here is the quickest car, Matt Kenseth. You're looking back at Matt, the Daytona 500 champion of 2009, with a 46.33. He and Kyle Busch and Brian Vickers are the fastest so far.
And you see him running to the outside of the 9 car, Casey Kane. Boy, they start stacking up there. Brian Vickers in the 83 looked like he jumped out of the throttle. But the Roush Fenway cars, they may have not been overly fast qualifying, but that group of cars actually looked pretty good in that shootout Saturday night.
Of course, let's take a look at this. I think what you'll see happen, I believe it's one of the cars up there. Yeah, Jimmy Johnson got loose. Greg Biffle lifts, and you see the chain reaction. Johnson gets loose. Biffle lifts. Here comes the 39 and Newman. Here comes the 83. They all just pile in on top of each other. That was almost the start of a big crash. And you can't avoid that.
No.
There's nothing you can do about that.
No, just as if you were driving that close together on the highway at 70 miles an hour and the car in front has a problem. 70, 190, not a lot of difference.
Yeah, big difference.
Trouble is trouble.
I'd like the sirloin, chicken and pork too, all wrapped in bacon, and all for around $10.
Security!
You can't match Golden Corral's Applewood Grill. It's sirloin, chicken breast, and our new scallops, all with Applewood bacon, all for around $10. Only at Golden Corral.
Women love chocolate.
A heart-shaped box of chocolate is a must.
That heart-shaped box of chocolates goes a long way.
I'd love to get a heart-shaped box on Valentine's Day.
Don't give her just any chocolates. Give her Russell Stover chocolates with the famous Russell Stover bow.
What if the person of your dreams is out there waiting for you? And what if eHarmony let you communicate with that person for free? Announcing the eHarmony free communication event this Thursday through Monday only. So get started today. Communicate with your matches for free at eHarmony.com.
Would you like to take a road trip to a place with no roads? Then check out Bass Pro Shops for great deals on great gear, like Under Armour long sleeve tech t-shirts for just $24.99, and save $20 on new Bass Pro Carbon Light fishing rods.
Attention drivers statewide. What would it take to get you to switch to 21st Century Insurance? What if we told you could save $474 a year? Start dialing, because you could save that much. People who switch from Geico saved around $481. From Allstate, $526. Your savings could be higher, like this driver who switched, or this one. Call 1-888-GET-2121. That's 1-888-GET-2121. Or visit 21st.com.
Welcome to the center of the universe. Eye of the sheet metal storm. A V8 vortex of soul-stirring thunder and blistering speed. Where pistons pound out the fury of 35,000 horses in unison with 100,000 beating hearts. A world where adrenaline is the fuel of choice. And everything else is just a game.
Welcome back to Daytona Sprint Cup practice for the Gatorade Duels that you'll see live on Thursday here on Speed. Here are the Fast Five as we go down to the garage area. First to Chris Devoto.
Mike, you, Daryl, Larry talking about how Jimmy Johnson's car loose on the racetrack. It was loose the last time he was on the racetrack Saturday night. He and his crew chief Chad Knaus also kept things loose during the off days. They played golf on Monday, and they've been loose in this practice in terms of their radio chatter. Chad told his driver, "I'm sending you out there on a set of scuffs." Jimmy said, "Thanks a lot." Chad said, "I trust your talent." Over to the other end of the garage and Matt Yoakum.
Chris, the Speed Week is all about building momentum towards Sunday's Daytona 500, and J.B. McMurray is certainly on his way. A third in Saturday night shootout. He's got 2 restrictor plate victories on his racing resume. The agenda for this practice session, simply get a good baseline with this race car. Larry Mack mentioned different cars today versus Saturday night. Although this car was built alongside the shootout car, every car can be a little bit finicky. They already found out that TAC has an issue. They'll fix that next time in the garage. Guys?
Thanks, Matt. Tomorrow is what we're practicing for, the Gatorade Duel at Daytona. That will set the field for the Daytona 500, and most importantly, we'll know who goes on and who goes home. It's live tomorrow on Speed, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, unfortunately, the box is only big enough for 43 cars to play on Sunday, so we know after those duel races tomorrow that 11 teams will not make the Daytona 500.
Darryl, look at all this 3 wide, and I mean, this is a little dicey for practice, don't you think?
It is, and trust me, as a driver, I hated to do this. but I also hated to get in the race and scream I can't drive my car.
All clear.
And so you're between a rock and a hard place. You got to get yourself in these precarious situations so that you can give some feedback to the crew as to what the car is doing when I am like, because that's the way it's going to be Sunday. You got to kind of emulate what you're going to do Sunday right here in practice, even though it's dangerous.
Well, and chances are that's the way it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow too, exactly.
Yeah.
You see that Red Bull car there, 82 car of Scott Speed, one of the cars coming in here outside the top 35, but he laid down a good enough qualifying run on Saturday afternoon that car is locked into the show on speed. He can still race his way in, but he knows he'll be racing on Sunday.
Bill Elliott, Joe Nemechek, Scott Speed.
And Bobby Labonte.
Yes. Are the drivers who know they'll be in the 500 from the Go or Go Home group. Cars like that 66 of Dave Blaney do not, and will have to race their way in.
And you know, there'll be a lot of deal making going on during those dual races. What I was just looking at the starting lineup, Scott Speed will be in the second race. Of course, he is locked in, but his teammate is in there. Where on the flip side of that, Michael Waltrip is the fourth Michael Waltrip racing car. He is in a dual race aside from his three teammates. His three teammates are in the other dual race. So we'll see a lot of deal making going on.
Well, so if you're a multi-car team owner like Michael Waltrip is, and you have cars that are locked in and cars that are not in a race, it would seem like your agenda is pretty clear. Going to be help me help you.
Well, talk to Ty Norris, of course, that works over there at Michael Waltrip Racing. He said that Bobby Labonte is in the race with the three other Michael Waltrip cars. Trust me, they will be trying to help Bobby Labonte race his way in because Michael is the next car to go in on speed.
Right. Lots of agenda.
But it is some of the most compelling racing that we'll have those dual races tomorrow.
That number 90, Casey Muir, is one of the cars that's not locked in.
He's got to race his way in, and I think the name of that team is very fitting for tomorrow's races. Keyed Up Motorsports.
Keyed Up.
Larry, let's take a look at, you talk about practice, and you heard Chad tell Jimmy Johnson, I trust your judgment, I trust your talent. Let's take a look at Jimmy Johnson. Here he is in traffic, heavy traffic, cars all around him, cars moving, things are happening here. And I got a feeling the car looks like it's pretty loose. And then we go around and watch this. So next time by, things start to get really tight in front of him. Cars moving around. He starts to the inside, and he takes a look at what's in front of him, and he says, boys, I've made an executive decision.
That's the reason Chad trusts his decisions.
I am out of here. Y'all go ahead. I think two things. He didn't like what he saw in front of him, and particularly with the way his car's handling.
Now, very different, the setup under these cars from the Bud Shootout. I mean, the Bud Shootout, everybody set up for the short run. You just didn't have the long, sustained, full tank of gas run you're going to have here, at least on Sunday.
Well, it would be maybe a decent starting point, but I will guarantee you, and I talked to some crew chiefs, a lot of them were back at their shops the last 3 days the track has been closed, with the engineers running simulations of different setups based on the information gathered from the Budweiser Shootout on Saturday night, when I think there were a lot of cars that were very, very loose.
All right, you saw the 27 pass there. Driver change. Kurt Schelmerdine out. Todd Bodine, the former Truck Series champ, replacing him to try to get the 27 into the 500. Krista?
Well, you mentioned Jimmy Johnson, Mike. No surprise to you guys probably that the first word he said to his crew when he came in, it's loose. Loose in, better grip center off, he said, but the entry is just too uncomfortable.
And then we see it. He's just tippy-toeing getting in, and it's really messing up the whole corner for him because it's almost like he's dirt tracking into the turn, which is making it real loose and then kind of making him tight off.
Matt?
Mike, the punch list for Kyle Busch, small here in the 18 garage. He said he felt like the team needed to work on the carburetor a little bit more to help the car suck up better in traffic. He also reported the temperatures only got to about 200. One other issue that they've just completed working on, and that was the side mirror. They took it off, they adjusted around, trying to help his vision on the left side of the race car, and that's primarily been the biggest adjustment they've made so far.
what they can work on real quickly to make the car run better. They can't necessarily do much to the carburetor. It is what it is. But that air box, that little air box that's set to the base of the windshield, that affects how the car runs as much as anything about a restricted car, restricted plate car.
And it could be looking for a different configuration to run fast by yourself, like qualifying, versus running fast in a big pack in the draft.
Yeah, airflow is so different once you open up the grill a little bit and get out there in a pack of cars.
2 Fords, 2 Toyotas, and a Chevy in the Fast 5 right now.
NASCAR's back, and we're there in Daytona for a pair of races on the high banks, the Gatorade Duel. Be there live as the hammer comes down, rivalries reignite. And when the smoke clears, the field is set for the 500. The Gatorade Duel at Daytona. Thursday, live at 2 p.m. Eastern. The season starts here. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
I'm really proud to be a part of it. Love, it's pretty amazing.
Her name is Amanda Brookman, and she is my destiny, although she may not know that, per se. So you can go online and make any kind of car you want. I made a love car.
Do I think they stand a chance? I mean, who doesn't love love? I love love.
Who?
Guys.
I'm an Olympic medalist from Olympic Valley. It's pretty cool when you can write on your address, Olympic Valley, California. This is Julia Mancuso, alpine skiing. I grew up in the mountains. My parents used to drop me off at the hill every day, and the mountain was basically my babysitter. The day I won my gold, I just fell in the snow and enjoyed the moment. A crazy dream come true.
Cache Creek Casino Resort is a proud local advertiser in NBC Universal's coverage of the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Winter Games.
If you bought a new car this year, thank you.
Everybody was like, do it. Carpe diem, seize the car, especially my boyfriend who I was sharing the car with. I think I got a great deal, actually, in this economy. Their prices were already really low. It was right at invoice. I'm really glad I decided to go ahead and buy a car now. I'm Lauren Webb, and I bought a 2009 Chevy Aveo.
If you need a new car, it's still a buyer's market. Vehix.com, your online resource to find your ride.
This presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup practice brought to you by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Try a new way to indulge in Hershey's. By DirecTV. To get the most out of your high-def TV, you gotta hook it up to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com beginning February 12th and enter your design.
We're talking about the, we call them air boxes, but they're not actually boxes anymore. We used to be able to take this and hook it right up to the back of the air cleaner, which made it a solid. It's more like cowl induction now. The air that comes off the windshield actually goes into the cowl induction. And the size of this, there's a specification here for the size. It can only be so wide. It's got to be certain width right there. But you have maximum. But as far as I know, do you have a minimum size if you want to narrow it up a little bit?
You can go smaller, but I definitely think there is a minimum and a maximum. Yeah.
So anyway, that's that one thing right there. It's a pretty minor look, but that's how you get air into the engine, and that's how the engine tuner, how the car runs. And then what affects it more than anything is when you get out here in race configuration and you start to open up the grill to get the temps to run at a race at an acceptable temperature for the race, more air will go into the radiator, and that will change the pressure under the hood and also change the cowl pressure. So sometimes you have to really monkey with that thing, try some different configurations. Sometimes they're kind of like a J, which is one way they make them. I've seen them straight in like that. So there's a number of configurations that you try to see how it performs in traffic and by yourself. So that's Airbox 101 for the day.
Okay.
Tomorrow I'm going to explain how a 3-disc clutch works.
Krista.
Jeff Gordon is out of his race car. Jeff, you said the car is driving really good. Just a couple of things we might want to do to it. Could you clue us into maybe one or two of those?
No.
I didn't think so. What do you need out of your race car on the track right now?
Well, in a practice like today, what you're trying to do is get yourself into the worst positions you possibly think you can be in without risking it too much, which in practice we don't want to do that. But you got to feel what the car's going to do tomorrow in traffic and for the Daytona 500, which is obviously what we're all here for. So DuPont Chevrolet's good, real good. Speed's good. We had good handling the other night. I felt like we could have made it a little bit better, and I think they've done just that. Now there's some shocks, that we can play around with. We're going to mess around a little bit of left front geometry here. Other than that, I think we're pretty close.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Darrell, that cowl opening, it cannot be bigger than 2.5 inches by 20 wide. But based on the rule book, there is no minimum, and I know sometimes a little smaller hole may run faster by yourself.
Yeah, it's volume, or you can narrow it down and get velocity. And so that's again, it's just a little tuning device, just like the things Jeff was talking about, a little left front geometry. It's a minor change, but it could affect the way the driver, how the car feels to the driver, and sometimes those are the most critical things.
Last time we saw Kurt Busch, it was after the Bud shootout, and he was kind of apologizing to his car owner Roger Penske for tearing up 2 of them. One in practice, and this one in the Budweiser shootout off the bumper of when Mark Martin. And
this is the shootout here.
This one.
Yeah.
The first one was practice on Montoya. Here's the shootout. And what everybody talked about, Darrell, was what a grass cutter that splitter was going through the infield, so much so that the force of it blew that hood right up and over the windshield.
Yeah, it just shot all that dirt and grass underneath the car, right where the radiator is, and it just actually blew up the hood.
So this is Kurt's 3rd car of the week, and he hasn't even got to see a checkered flag yet.
Well, you can really see that fin on that left side right there. That's the grass. And,
it looks. You still see tracks where Kurt went through.
So this is landscape 101.
Yeah, that's where he went through it. But that fin is, that thing is so much bigger than what it has been in the past. In the past, it didn't go down the back like that. And what NASCAR did in the wind tunnel, they got to monkeying around with that thing and found out that with that fin on there, if the car does get around backwards, it will actually allow the car to be 10 miles an hour faster than it has been in the past, and still not lift off. So it's just another one of those safety devices, really, more than anything.
We'll show you another look of what happened Saturday night with Kurt Busch as practice rolls on for tomorrow's Gatorade Duel. Cut the grass, watch this.
It's one thing to hit something, but not be able to see it before you hit it.
The trucks are back. We're there for the Battle at Daytona, for the crashes and high-banked excitement. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Friday, live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
H&R Block at Home. It's fast. It's easy. And it's written in plain English. But most of all, H&R Block at Home is about getting your taxes done right. As the next generation of tax cut, H&R Block at Home uses the knowledge we've gained serving over 500 million customers, giving you the confidence you'll need to hit the send button. Try H&R Block at Home and get it right.
The Gillette Young Guns in their greatest challenge ever.
What's going on here?
We're doing the Gillette 500.
Going around the country trying to save
500 miles of guys' faces.
5 blades, 3 teams, and a race to the finish.
I think we're winning.
Got sensitive skin?
Try Gillette Fusion.
Talk about comfort.
Ding, ding. We don't do burgers.
Join our team!
Join us. Would you like to join our team? Gets you right here, doesn't it?
Join the action at Gillette500.com.
Most people would probably agree that The General is not your average insurance company, especially when it comes to saving you money on your auto insurance. And we're willing to go to just about any length to prove it. Starting with a super fast online quote, you'll get a low rate, a low monthly payment, and a down payment as low as $59. At The General, average is just not our style.
For the best car insurance rates online, go to The General and save some time.
As practice for tomorrow's Gatorade Duel continues, let's take a look at the go or go home situation. We know from Saturday's time trials that the top 4 drivers on the graphic will race because they have the 4 fastest time trial speeds of those not in the top 35. Now, right below those next 4 drivers could get in the race on speed if any of the 4 drivers above them race their way in on Thursday. If all 4 drivers on the top of the graphic race their way in, Waltrip, Bliss, Sorensen, and Mears, then they all get in on speed. But those 4 could also race their way in, and so must these drivers. Their qualifying speed was not quick enough to make the Daytona 500 on speed, so their only chance is to be one of the 2 highest finishers in their Gatorade Duel among the drivers not yet in the race.
And you know, we were talking about that at a press conference this morning about just how the intensity level has changed in these Gatorade Duel races. You know, back in the day before the top 35, you knew if you came down here and you finished in the top 18, top 20 of the Gatorade Duel race, you probably were going to be okay. You probably were going to be in the Daytona 500. But as we saw a few years ago, Robbie Gordon finished 7th and still did not make the Daytona 500.
You know, we talking about Jimmy Johnson's back out there, by the way. You see him here on the outside line. These cars, I think, are probably giving the crew chiefs a little bit more heartburn than normal, because with the bigger plate and the aero package they got and the shock combination they got, these cars are straightaway speeds are really high. And so you are really attacking that third turn probably at a higher rate of speed than you ever have here before, particularly with this car. I think that's why corner entry is causing a bit of a problem for some of these guys trying to get the car tight enough getting in the corner so they don't have to lift out the throttle.
Yeah, 40 cars qualified faster than Martin Truex Jr.'s pole speed from a year ago. That's how much faster this field of cars is.
Looking back at David Rudiman in the 00, here's Matt.
My confidence is high. The first run during this practice session ran 9 laps, so the car was pretty good. He felt like the back of the car stayed free all the way through the corner, but he did lose the nose when he went over the bumps, and then when the nose finally caught, it snapped loose. So they made some small adjustments on that. And, you know, Jeff Gordon earlier was talking about the risk versus reward during this practice session. If you get a look at the 33 at Clint Boyer, he's got a very nice size Martinsville-type donut on the right door.
Well, I know people up on the East Coast probably don't want to hear me talk about snow, but really driving a race car is just like trying to drive on snow. If you turn the wheels too much to the left, when they finally do hook up, the back end will spin around. You've got to really stay off the brakes, locking up the tires. You can't drive the car. There's so many things that apply to racing on or driving on snow that are very similar to what you do with a race car.
Now, of the go or go homers, Scott Speed is quickest. Mike Bliss, second fastest. Casey Mears, Todd Bodine, and Michael Waltrip are the quickest in this session of the go or go home list.
You know, we talk about speeds. Right now, Matt Kenseth, he's put up the fastest lap of this practice session, and it was on his 3rd lap at a 46.33, and that is over 194 miles per hour. Of course, that's when you get the big numbers, is when they're all out there at the beginning of the practice, the beginning of a run, and you've got them in big packs lined up, maybe even running down another pack.
Yeah, and see, what you don't know as a driver, your car, you're very happy. Your car's very comfortable. You're able to go where you want to. Then you run up on a guy that isn't in that same shape. His car's not handling so good. He's not so happy, and he's not real sure what to do. And here you are, you're good, and he's not. And first thing you know, you're running over him because he has to lift out the throttle or something.
Practice rolls on for the Gatorade Duels. You're riding with Kyle Busch, who has the 2nd fastest lap of the day.
Sunday, before the Great American Race, we're there in Daytona with the ultimate pre-race show. NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. Live Sunday at 9 Eastern. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
Let's talk about putting our best square foot forward. Then let's do more than talk about it. Let's turn picturing it into planning it. Thinking it over into making it happen. Let's say out with the old and in with the new. Let's create some wall-to-wall wow. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Right now, get any carpet installed for just $97. Any brand, any style, any number of rooms.
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Is Ed Too Tall Jones too tall?
I'm just gonna guesstimate.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We started with over 1 billion colors. Generously added more than 2 million liquid crystal pixels. Combined 960 backlighting LEDs with 240 flawless scenes per second. Made it 50% more energy efficient. And it all came down to one thing. The new 55-inch True LED from Vizio. Superior picture performance. Superior price from America's #1 LCD HD TV company.
Discover the soul of NASCAR at over 50 NASCAR home tracks across North America. Visit NASCARHometracks.com to find a track near you.
Well, the home track near us this week is the 2.5-mile Daytona International Speedway, where Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, and Brian Vickers have put up the big numbers. But the folks we are watching closely are the go or go home list: Scott Speed, Mike Bliss, Casey Mears, and now Michael McDowell are the fast four in that group. Time to join, what you call him, Darrell, Saturday night?
A sick little man.
He is now a $200,000 richer.
Oh, yeah.
Man, and he's with Yoakum.
Fixed him right up.
DW, just call him Big Giant Money, because that's what he took home on Saturday night. Different cars, same setup as Saturday night. Are you pleased with it?
I like the way the car's handling. It seems like I can still maneuver the thing. Got a couple little intake manifold things that we want to put back on that we had on the other car Saturday night. So put those back on for the second session, but the handling's really good, and that's the most important thing.
If there's anything you can fine-tune on this car during this session, what would it be?
Just trying to get it to suck up just a touch better. Obviously, track position is still going to be pretty important because you can't make up a lot of ground the first 10 or 12 laps, but after that, the thing's really handling well. So that's the most important thing, and hopefully we can keep our Shell Pennzoil Chevy straight and going in the right direction and keep it handling good, and we'll be fine.
He said it was a rocket ship on Saturday night with their shootout car, hoping for the same thing with the 500 car. And Larry Mack, you heard Kevin talk about the manifolds. They're going to try a couple of different manifolds. They're going to take a manifold off the engine from the shootout winner and put it on this engine for the next practice, just to see if it might be a little bit better than what they've got here.
And Darrell, they can actually move the power band a little bit with that intake manifold. You know, these are the engines that they qualified with. You get one engine change during speed weeks with no penalty, and that's after the Gatorade Dual race, as long as you have your race engine in there by final practice on Saturday.
See, it's back to that same thing we were talking about, the air box. When you qualify, or when you know you're going to be able to hold the car wide open, then you want volume. You want a lot of volume going down in that engine because you're going to be able to use it. But when you get part throttle and have to get on and off the gas, then you want to have the velocity of that, make the car accelerate at part throttle.
Having a look at Reed Sorensen here. Early draw, like we talked at the top of the show. He might well have been on the pole. Right next to Elliott, the third.
Watch it. I tell you, Denny Hamlin is he's practicing rather aggressively. Watch this here, coming through 3 and 4 here, and you know, it's a good thing that Brad Keselowski got a little loose off of 4 right there. May had to lift up a little bit because Denny just squeezed right in front of him. That was really way too close.
Go 3 wide, 2 wide.
And that little bump wasn't to help Denny Hamlin.
No.
It was to let him know that, hey, dude, chop my nose off.
Probably the exit of turn 4 is the most difficult spot on this racetrack for a driver because the spotters up on the roof above us are looking straight on at the noses of the car, and there's no way a spotter can confidently clear a driver when they're coming straight at them.
And it's tough going away towards turn 1, but the thing about turn 4, Mike, is these cars get into a run, it seems like the car just wants to lunge to the outside, even if you're on the inside of a car, and it gets pretty treacherous over there.
Artie Kempner, our director, is going to show us what view the spotters have as there they are up on their perch right above us. See, it's head on. So is there room to squeeze in that hole? Well, looks like there might be, but you can't say it with a whole lot of certainty.
This racetrack was one of those places when I always questioned my spotter. When he said I was clear, I almost had to know from inside the car, from either my mirror or from just feeling my track presence, that I had room to get in.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually spotted here. I spotted here for Mike Skinner in a couple of truck races, and the best thing you could tell that driver in that same configuration we were just seeing, can't tell until you're sure. Because you'd rather play it safe, especially in practice.
The best thing I can tell any driver is just stay on that yellow line. That'll make yours and my job a whole lot easier.
Look at how much Casey Kane bounces around in the seat. One
of the things I talked to John Darby, and I mentioned this to Larry, they realize that that 9 got sucked around there by Scott Speed in the 82. One of the things that they realize now is this shock package they have on the rear of these cars is a little too aggressive. And it's particularly because of the bumps. And what's happened with the shock package is the guys, they have a valve they can open up or close. Closed up makes the shock really aggressive. Opened up makes it less aggressive. And they can't open it up. They got it all the way open, and they need a little bit more adjustment. They were thinking about making a change here, but they don't have time.
Krista?
Mike, I'm standing down here in Casey Kane's garage stall, and we can't obviously see him on the track from here, but it's funny, as soon as you and Daryl mentioned that he was bouncing out there on the racetrack, that's exactly what some of his crew members were doing. They were kind of waving their hands in the air, talking about the bounce. Casey is actually just trying to work in traffic out there. He said the car was pretty good on the first run, and he's really pleased with how the back end of the car is in the track. He said that's a lot better than it was in the shootout.
Boy, it sure doesn't look very good. From up here where I'm standing, that thing is moving around a lot, and you can see with his hands, he's juking around on that wheel pretty good, and that's because the car is really jumping around.
You know, I think we should probably even go just a little bit further on this spring and shock deal in the rear. Unlike the downforce tracks, like next week at California, Las Vegas, where teams have an option of what they run shock-wise or spring-wise, NASCAR mandates the rate of the rear springs. They give you a little adjustment in the right rear to run a little stiffer, but they actually issue the teams their shock package. Every team that races Sunday and races tomorrow will have the same shock package, with the exception of what Daryl talked about, the adjustments that they can make to open them up or close them up a little bit. And it's just to keep everybody, for the most part, on equal ground as how far you travel the back of the car, because the more you travel it, the faster it's going to go. It won't drive very good, though.
And with 50 cars here, that would be 100 shocks that they would have to revalve, and they just don't have time to get that done here.
NASCAR's back, and we're there in Daytona as the hammer comes down and rivalries reignite. The Gatorade Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 p.m. Eastern. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
Vs. Predator. Rated M for mature. Pre-order now at GameStop and receive 3 exclusive multiplayer skins.
I'm Ryan.
Hi.
Patience. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Comcast wants to know what you really want out of your internet service.
I want super fast internet.
Like, oh my gosh, look how fast.
You want it, you got it. Comcast has speeds up to 20 megabits per second with Power Boost.
I want to watch movies, videos, and TV shows all online.
You want it, you got it. Presenting high-speed internet that's built for watching video. Comcast Internet Service. Lots of options to choose from with everyday low pricing starting at just $24.95 a month.
More hair, so don't put it off any longer. The phone call is free. The information is free. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 1-800-750-6401. That's 1-800-750-6401.
Catching a little sun and maybe a little lunch here at Daytona. A little lunchtime plus coverage of practice for the Gatorade Duels live on Speed tomorrow to set the field for the Daytona 500. Robbie Gordon is the last of the top 35 cars that are locked into the race to come out and practice today.
Boy, Allmendinger in that 43 car there, man, he was kind of juking and jiving down the bottom of turn 1 and 2 down there, hitting those bumps.
Yeah, Robbie was pretty fast in the one practice run that he made on Friday. We thought, I don't know if we thought he was a pole potential, but I think top 10, top 12, but didn't lay the lap down he was looking for. He ended up qualifying 30th in that 7 car, and he's locked in, but that cat behind him, Max Pappas, in that 13 car, he's one of those cars that the only way he can get in this show is race his way in. His speed will not get him there.
No, and Max needs to find some speed because right now he's toward the bottom of the chart, 49th overall in this practice session. And that's the wrong end of the chart right now.
Just looking, it looks like Brad Keselowski has run the most laps of anyone. Brad has run 27 laps. Jeff Burton has run 25. Casey Kane 24. And I think Darrell would agree, and I think he maybe even said it earlier, get me at least 20, 25 laps. That lets me know about half that fuel load's burned off. We've got that many laps on our tires. That'll tell us something about that race car.
What I don't like is coming in and out of the pits on the same set of tires. You go out there and you run 10, 15 laps, get those tires really hot, 250 degrees, and then you come in, the car sets, the tires cool off, go right back out. Sometimes that's a little bit deceiving too. So give me a consistent, 20, 25 laps, and then let's talk about it.
Let's talk about Brad Keselowski, and let's have a look at what happened to his Penske Dodge last time by. There he is on the inside. You see a puff of smoke there. Brake smoke? Or
locking them up, getting on pit road. Yeah.
And that's something these guys will do throughout these practice sessions. They hadn't made pit stops in over 3 months, and we know you're going from 190-something miles an hour trying to get down to 55. We know that there will be at least one pit stop in those dual races. More than likely it'll be a caution flag pit stop, but it's just things these guys are trying to get back acclimated to.
Krista?
Casey Kane is out of the car, and we talked about bouncing around. Actually, Darrell, he said it's not really bouncing that bad out there. You said the back end in the racetrack. Talk about this car compared to your shootout car.
It's different. It's the shootout car I felt was you can kind of get slowed down, and then you can take off a little quicker. So we're working on how we can do that, how we can get it to recover a little bit faster. I'm not on the track quite as hard as I was in the shootout, so it's not bouncing quite as bad. It's still hitting, but it feels pretty comfortable. It's a pretty good car.
Thanks, Casey. Matt?
It's a work in progress down in the 31 garage of Jeff Burton, currently talking to his teammate Harvick. He was telling Todd Verrier moments ago that the car a little tight on entry, but he just has no rear grip whatsoever. And then he said the car just feels like the whole car wants to climb up the racetrack, not just the front when he goes over the bumps. So a lot of work going on here on the 31.
Well, his overall speed's good. He's 4th quick on the chart at a 46.44, which is pretty darn fast. But he was fast in practice here the other day, but didn't fare that well in the shootout. So they got a fast car, but they need to figure out how to make it consistent.
This is the first of 2 practice sessions today for Thursday's Gatorade Duel.
Welcome to the Now Network. 3 skiers are trapped on a chairlift, each with one of Sprint's best 3G phones. Carl passes the time searching for apps on his Samsung Moment with Google. Candace mixes business with pleasure on the newest BlackBerry Curve, America's favorite smartphone, now even smarter. and Rose is getting updated on her sleek and slim Palm Pixie. Once again, bringing you the nation's best lineup of phones and its first and only wireless 4G network. Sprint, the Now Network.
Here's a little trick I picked up by booking my family trip with Expedia. First, I find the flight I want, then a great hotel my kids will love. Yeah. But wait, here's the really cool part. When I book them at the same time, voila, I can save up to $450. And we all know that can come in pretty handy. Book flight and hotel and save more. Where you book matters. Expedia.
In 1977, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European Pro Golf Tours? 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the US Open twice? 1 in 1.2 billion. The odds of him having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Oops, stay out fast lane, bro.
The NASCAR.com Superstore. Real gear, real fast.
So you think you know who's going to win the Daytona 500? Well, log on to speedfantasyracing.com, where you can play in your own group or join the overall game for cash prizes. Register now at speedfantasyracing.com. Log on and play. No change in the Fast Five, as we'll go meet the 5th fastest man so far with Krista.
And that would be Carl Edwards. And we've been talking a lot about risk versus reward in this practice. Carl, you guys are done, right?
Yeah, we're done. There's not enough reward out there for us right now. We've got a really great handling race car. Our Aflac Fusion is good. It's going to be a fun race. I mean, it's going to be, they said, what, 20 degrees warmer or something. The long green flag runs are, I think, are going to be a blast. Goodyear did a really good job with this tire. You know, Adam, my tire guy, was saying this is the best tire he's seen, you know, visually once they come off the car. And they're just slippery enough out there you can really drive. Just a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a great 500.
And I know in the shootout you had a lot of fun racing with your new Ford teammate, Casey Kane. You guys were over here talking. What did you guys have to say a few moments ago?
I told Casey he probably should just loosen his up a little bit. He was only about 30 degrees sideways for most of the lap. He's a driver, you know, and he ran so well in the shootout. You know, our Scott's Fusion was really good too. Just kind of ran out of time and didn't, you know, wasn't able to get back to the front. But I learned a lot, and I think that's the most important thing. You know, a lot of things I can apply to the 500, and hopefully Casey and I are up there in the front.
Thanks, Carl.
You know, I like what they did with this tire here, and I like how they went about developing it. I've always questioned coming down here with 3 or 4 cars in tire testing. You absolutely cannot learn anything. And so what Goodyear did, in September they brought 5 cars down here just to try to get a baseline. And then in November, they brought 17 teams down here and tested, and it seems like we're reaping the reward for bringing that many cars for the tire test.
Yeah, I didn't see in the Bud Shootout, I didn't see that big a fall off in that first 25 laps. Certainly the better handling cars, actually, you know, the cream rise to the top there, but I didn't see anybody falling off like we have here in the past where they just about had to park. But one thing that does bother me a little bit, I'm seeing Casey Kane's car bouncing around a lot and moving around a lot. Carl Edwards just sort of verified what I was thinking, what I thought I saw. He said he's 30 degrees loose, but then Casey Kane says he likes his car. So
okay.
Difference of opinion, I guess.
Certainly.
Carl had a good car the other night. Unfortunately, he was caught up in that last lap crash, including both of his teammates as well. But Carl started on the pole and led about the first 20-something laps of that Budweiser shootout.
Not much change on the go or go home speed list. Scott Speed, Mike Bliss, who has to race his way in. Casey Mears, Michael McDowell are the fast 4 of the drivers who must race their way in tomorrow. There's the 36 of Mike Bliss at the tail of this draft, past champion of NASCAR's Truck Series.
You know, one thing I love about this bigger restrictor plate, and I mentioned this the other day, I was over at LPGA playing golf, and you can hear these cars. I mean, these cars are loud with that bigger plate. They're making more horsepower, turning more RPM. They're really barking as they go around the track, and it sounds cool.
You know, what's amazing about, we keep talking about the bigger restrictor plate, It's only a 64th of an inch bigger than what we ran here in July, but that is up to about 15 horsepower, just that 64th of an inch, and it obviously has made a big difference.
I know a couple of guys that ended up spending time in the NASCAR jail for trying to make one that little wee bit bigger.
Yes.
Oh, for that, they put you in the jail and throw away the key.
That's right.
Well, that 92 of Mike Wallace, top of the screen, the red car. That looked pretty evil coming off the corner there. Everybody else had to split him and find a different way around.
You know, that's the other thing about a car, like Mike Wallace, for instance. You get out there and you've been pretty comfortable in your car at the speed you were going, but man, all of a sudden you get hooked up with some of these fast cats, and you say, whoa, they're about to turn me around.
Casey Kane hits high gear. Tony Stewart behind him.
We'll have to keep an eye on Casey, see if he's smoothed out his ride a little bit.
Now, explain a little about the difference between the old Ford engine, the R9 engine, in that who's running which. I guess in the shootout, all of the Fords ran the older engine. Is that right?
No, all of them are running the new engine in the preliminary events.
Even the shootout?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the cars had the new Ford engine in them in these preliminary events. Even the 150s, when it comes time to make that engine change, they're going to decide then if they've seen enough, if the positive results, if the engines look good, they may run some of them in the 500. But right now their plans are to run the old engine in the 500 because that thing is bulletproof. It's proven, tried, and it's not like it's not like there's something wrong with it. And the R9 is still in development.
Okay.
Yeah, Jack Roush told us on our trackside show, he said, we know this is going to be a better engine, but he said, we're having a tough time getting there just because what we've got is so good.
Okay. Let's go down to Ryan Newman's garage. Krista.
Yeah, a little bit of a fuel pickup issue, it seems, down here. You got the whole world down here looking at your race car. What's going on, Ryan?
I just had a little fuel pickup issue, like you said. I'm not sure what the answer is yet, but it was a handful off turn 2 with the pack behind me, and I had to wave off everybody, it seemed like. But U.S. Army Chevrolet felt pretty good. I think everybody's going to have their hands full for grip and for balance, but it's not bad. We're just trying to make it better.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan's only run 17 laps, so we don't know how much fuel they started with, but you should be able to go about 38 to 42 laps on a tank of fuel.
And here's some bad news. If you're not happy with your car in these weather conditions, as cool as it is right now, you're really going to be unhappy.
Hey, Daryl, I got a text that said they could also hear your golf balls hitting the trees from the racetrack.
Bing, bing.
Today, an American tradition is renewed as speed sets the stage for Daytona's biggest events. The Hershey's Milk and Milkshake Speed Weeks at Daytona. Coverage continues today. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
I'm really proud to be a part of it. Love, it's pretty amazing.
Her name is Amanda Brookman, and she is my destiny, although she may not know that, per se. So you can go online and make any kind of car you want. I made a love car.
Do I think they stand a chance? I mean, who doesn't love love? I love love.
Who?
Attention, all.
NBA All-Star 2010 is coming to TNT. Cowboy Stadium plays host to the NBA All-Star Game. And don't miss the excitement and showmanship of All-Star Saturday night. It's the NBA on TNT All-Star 2010 live from Dallas. Coverage begins February 12th exclusively on TNT.
With a mix of on-air, online, and on-demand, Comcast Spotlight can target customers wherever they are. To make your presence felt, call or visit us online.
Are you sure this is HD?
It's AT&T HD.
Looks like bad HD.
The details are a little fuzzy with AT&T. Take it that Comcast has way better HD picture and the most HD choices.
Guys, I'm right here.
I got your back, kid.
Shaq's got your back.
Don't settle for less with AT&T. Get more HD choices and the best-rated HD picture quality with Comcast.
Dad, can Shaq stay for dinner?
Yeah, Dad. Can Shaq stay for dinner?
Sponsify your ride at ToyotaRacing.com with the Sponsifier. You can design yours starting this Friday at ToyotaRacing.com. So Joey Logano looks like he's sponsified.
Sponsor. Got him a good sponsor on his car.
You know, there's a bunch of cars going to get sponsified after Thursday. Some of those cars with blank quarter panels, because not everybody's going to make this race.
There'll be some wheeling and dealing after those dual races, I will guarantee you.
Matt?
Mike, Kyle Busch second on the speed charts. Good news for this team. A number of teams brought cars down where they clear-coated over the decals. Kyle Busch's team didn't. And they're going to have to change those decals because he slapped the wall. He says the car much better with grip, need a little bit more rear grip. They changed the left front spring, but he really feels good as far as the front of the car. Their feedback is getting the repeatability, so he's pretty happy with his car. 27 laps so far they've completed during this practice session.
Talked to one team owner that told me that they have 3 cars here, that they brought 2 cars that were what they considered downforce cars, maybe not a total mile-and-a-half kind of car, but something with a little more downforce than you would normally bring to Daytona, and 1 car that had very little downforce, and the 2 cars with the downforce were outrunning the one without the downforce. So if I'm going to have my choice, when I come down here to race, I want one that's got a little bit more downforce on it.
And you know, there's so little you can do to these bodies because they're monitored so closely with the grid of Tempest and all, but there's a lot of things that can be done with underbody, with things in the rear of the car, underneath the car, that you do have the liberty of working with that can help or hurt the downforce.
Well, just think about the angle of the rear end and where you run the car. You know, you can run the car square, straight up, and where it's going down the track. Tracking's true. Or you can have the rear end cocked over a little bit where the back of the car is actually towed into the left to try to get that big wing out of the air as it goes through the corner. So there's a lot of little subtle things you can do that makes a big difference in how the car feels.
Travis Kvapil is running the number 37 this week because Kevin Conway was not approved to compete in Sprint Cup on the 2.5-mile track. So I believe this is a 1-race ride in the 37. For Travis, is that correct, Larry?
Yeah, he's still going to be driving for this team at California. He'll be in the 34 car. And then David Gilliland, who's actually driving for BAM here, the 49 car, he will be in the 3rd Front Row Motorsports car at California, driving the Taco Bell 38 Ford.
So Kvapil in the 37 and Robert Richardson in the 38, pretty much a 1-race, or at least for now.
Yeah, the odd man out for California will be Robert Richardson.
Right.
And Kevin Conway will be back in the car there.
You know, the interesting thing about Kevin, his father worked for me, Sam, and his brother, I believe his name was Brad Conway. He was a big part of the CNC development at Yates Racing back when Robert first started making a cylinder head for everybody.
Actually, Brett Conway.
Brett,
yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Brett. Yeah. And smart, really smart family. Sam was a great guy. Kevin, I watched Kevin race his Legends cars, his go-karts. And now he's here he is trying to, not today, but next week he'll be getting into the Cup Series.
You know, you see Denny Hamlin back out there in that 11 car. Denny's going to be on our trackside show on Speed on Friday night. We come on at 6:30 Eastern time, and I'm sure we got a lot we can talk to Denny about. You know, he's got that little bit of injury from little pickup basketball game, the little ongoing feud that we maybe saw a little bit of a while ago between Denny and Brad Keselowski. So I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk to him on our little trackside show.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be aggravating or agitating Brad the way that Denny Hamlin did there coming off turn 4 a little bit, sliding up in front of a guy that doesn't have a lot of love for me.
I think Brad let him know that.
I think that little tap was not it was not a bump grab. We had Brad Keselowski on our show this past Friday, and it's amazing to me the discipline that the car owners have. I mean, Brad was clean shaven, had on his white button-down Penske Racing shirt, pair of slacks with a crease in it sharp enough to cut your hand, and he was standing tall, just like Roger Penske would have all of his drivers do.
Versus the T-shirt and the goatee from a year ago.
And the hat on backwards.
Pants on the ground.
12 screaming engines breathing hard. It's a sound you better get used to, because Bull Run returns for a grueling new season. This time around, with a full 200 grand up for grabs, it's not enough just to go the distance. Out on these roads, tempers explode and dreams go up in smoke. We'll see who puts it on the line and who's just spinning their wheels. If there weren't big risks, we couldn't call it Bull Run. Bull Run, one hell of a ride, this February, exclusively on Speed.
Right now, Mrs. Jones is freeing herself from restrictive calling circles and switching her entire family to Sprint. That way, her daughter isn't limited to lame calling plans. Her son can talk all day long. And while on the Sprint network, if her husband pocket dials any mobile phone nationwide,
oh, this is Flavor Flav. Who's this?
It's no big deal. Welcome to the Now Network. Get any mobile anytime for just $42.50 a month per person with unlimited text and data. And get a phone upgrade every year plus other exclusive rewards. Sprint, the Now Network.
Even the great Sherlock Holmes is at a loss, eh?
My dear Watson, I'm quite literally clueless.
But what about this white glove beside the victim,
Brilliant. What would I do without you? But shouldn't we return it to its owner?
No, Holmes. The killer dropped it as he fled the scene. And wasn't the butler only wearing one glove today?
And he had a very icy handshake. Ha! So the butler did it. Like, that's never happened before.
Indeed.
Tell me, Watson, how did you get suddenly quicker and sharper than me?
Elementary, my dear Holmes. You drink tea, I drink Red Bull.
I love boats. Crazy about boats. I love working with my hands. You have a sense of freedom and power. Wildtech's a good place to start. We actually got to see how things work, got our hands dirty. To me, that's exciting. So Rush, everything today is computerized. You have to have the know-how. They show how things are done in the field. Hands-on experience. I am proud to be a professional marine technician. My name is John. My school is Wildtech.
Get on the fast track to a career. Turn pro at Wildtech. 1-800-882-5899.
Speed's coverage of Sprint Cup practice from Daytona is brought to you by Alien vs. Predator, 2010's biggest multi-species, multiplayer event. And by Gillette. Team up with the Gillette Young Guns on Gillette500.com. First of two practice sessions for tomorrow's Gatorade Duel that will set the field for the 500.
You know, Darrell, it's something else that a lot of the teams are toiling with, and they may be playing with it during this practice session. We have the gear rule here, just like we do everyone else. You have an option of a high and a low gear, 364 and a 370. Well, these things are turning about 88, 8900 in the draft. That's way beyond peak power. But I don't think a lot of people are running the higher gear because as much as they're getting out of the throttle, you need that low gear to recover when you do have to get out of the throttle.
I always like the lower gear to me is like having a passing gear. You know, like if you lay out of the throttle and you catch somebody and you hold it wide open, you can get by them. And then if you got to play with the throttle, like you said, you got some response there with that lower gear.
And remember in the Budweiser shootout, Kyle Busch was complaining that he felt like he was turning the engine out of the frame, that it was turning way too many RPM.
It does fascinate me because in the past down here, a 292, 300, 310, we'd race at 325 gear sometime, and these guys are sitting here with 64s and 70s. That tells you how much drag the car has in it versus the cars of the past, and that's all that is. It's aero drag that has created them, that allowed them to put that lower gear in there.
All right, Krista, Brian Vickers put up a fast lap earlier, third on the day. What have they done, and what do they want to do now?
Their plan right now, Mike, they're actually going to go run it out of fuel. Brian said that the car's tight, but not as tight as it was on the first run. That first run, they put 16 laps on one set of tires. They have 25 laps on this set. They filled it up with fuel, at least topped it off, and said they're going to go run it dry.
Well, it's important to know how much fuel it will exactly pick up. We know that, especially come Sunday's race, we may get some long green flag runs where you'll run a fuel run. And then, of course, for the engine guys, you heard Carl Edwards talk about we may have a 20-degree temperature swing. That will change the way they tune these engines. They'll maybe be able to lean it out a little bit.
Turn 2. Looked like Clint Boyer, and he had some help from behind that black car.
And David Rudiman was involved with it.
I'm not sure if the 33, though, didn't have something happen before.
Derek Cope.
Let's look at this again, because the 33 takes off. See if he got right here. I think something happens to that 33. Right there, see, he just starts up. Yeah, you see the smoke?
Looks like he's maybe had a tire going down.
Apparently so, when you see that smoke boiling out as he started up the hill. And, man, that's 75. Derek Cope right into the back of Rudiman. That's unfortunate for Derek. But something happened to the 33, and I'm pretty sure it apparently might be a tire the way it takes off here.
Right front. There it is, Darrell.
It's down and up the hill he goes.
So we're under caution, and
there she goes, and of course Rudiman's on the outside.
Nowhere to go.
Here comes Cope.
Boy, he comes in there from a long way back, Darrell.
I don't know what his spotter was telling him, but it wasn't whoa, I don't think.
Right, trying to wreck in front of you. Watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this. It's still rolling straight. Still rolling straight, still rolling straight. Caution's out.
My kind of spotter. Watch this.
I'm going to tell you what, that may be one of the better spotters in all the garage here is Jeff Dickerson.
No,
he really looks after Kyle well.
Jeff's good. One of the best.
That was a hard lick that 33 car took on the outside wall as well.
Yes, sir. That's Cope's. Well, no, that's Rudiman's car.
The back of his looks worse. And you see where Boyer got into the wall. And there's the right front down. Let's look at the back of Rudiman's car, because that's where the damage is.
Yeah, Cope came in there and really nailed him. Lucky Dog's not happy.
Now, the rule is if you have to go to a backup car for the dual race, you start the dual race at the back of the field, and then wherever you finish, then you will transfer in that position on to the Daytona 500.
So if he had a decent qualifying run, they're going to want to try to fix that.
A lot of work to do, though.
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Did the cavemen invent fire? Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Is Ed too tall, Jones too tall?
We're on the road to show people.
We've made a great product even better. Watch.
Shell nitrogen-enriched gasolines clean the gunk left by lower quality gasoline. And all 3 grades act as a protective barrier to shield and protect engines from performance-robbing gunk. Try nitrogen-enriched Shell gasolines.
Helping you get the most out of every drop.
Gunk doesn't stand a chance.
I always watch TV shows, Wildtech commercials would come up, want to work on cars, this is the best way to do it. Preparing you for the outside world, the best way to do it is stick you in a whole garage. They teach you about the computers, to weld, to build frames, to build engines. I take pride in just knowing that it came in with a problem and that problem's fixed when it leaves. Working on cars is what I like doing, so it's not even like a job to me. My name's David, and my school is Wildtech.
Get on the fast track to a career. Turn pro at Wildtech. 1-800-846-1952.
My joints ache so bad, I wake up in pain every day. I want to know why.
I want to know why my hair is falling out.
How did this happen?
How did this happen? A little pain in my knee. That's how it started.
That's how it started. This rash on my face, now it's like my body is attacking me. I want answers.
When you don't have the right answers, it may be time to ask your doctor the right question.
Could I have lupus?
Green flag coming back out after an incident involving Clint Boyer, David Rudiman, and Derek Cope. Matt?
Well, now we've got crisis management going on now. They are going to go to a backup car for the 33 of Clint Boyer. Things happen fast here, don't they?
Yeah, unfortunately, too fast. Just blew it right front. I mean, what more can you say? Just bummer. This is the biggest race of the year. This is one you want to run good at, but unfortunately, we're gonna go to the other car with the Cheerios Hamburger Helper Chevrolet. The guys have worked hard all winter long on these cars. That's what's just sucks, But the good thing is they worked hard on a backup plan too, and that backup car is just as good. The motors run good. All three cars are up front, the top 10 in speed. So I know we can put the package back together. Good thing is learned a lot from our teammates in the shootout, and their cars handled good. We just got our car handling good. That's the thing. It was loose. Usually when you blow right fronts, it's tight, but we were loose and blew it anyway. So who knows?
Well, that's the story of Clint Boyer. Right alongside is the 00 of David Rudiman. He sustained a lot of damage in that as well. He's talked to a lot of different crew members on his team. Backup car for you as well?
Yeah, there's just not any way you can save it. It's hurt pretty bad on the front and the back. So the Airstream machine is we have to break out the backup. I'm afraid it's just the way it is.
Walk us through from your vantage point.
It looked like the 33 might have cut a right front tire getting down in the corner there, and right front goes down, it's kind of hard to keep it on the bottom, and he was on the bottom, I was on the top, and his car went up across the racetrack and got the fence, and I got in the back of him, and then about 5 minutes later, somebody else running in the back of us there after the wreck was pretty well over with. So pretty disappointing. These guys at the fab shop and everybody at Michael Waltrip Racing, they work awful hard on these things all winter long, and to go out here and tear them up in practice, it just doesn't. It's kind of a bummer, but I'm sure the backup car is as good as the primary, and we'll get it back out for second practice and see if we can make it a little better.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
I think I could probably save that car if it had just been the front, because he didn't get too hard into the back of the 33, but when he got nailed from the rear, that did him in.
Trying to find the handle here at Daytona is perplexing for veteran drivers, for rookies, and how about for the rookie of the year? Joey Logano had an interesting explanation on what he feels like his car is doing. That's what he told Greg Zipadelli when he was parked in the garage a little bit ago.
It seemed like it was worse over the bumps that run than last run. Popping the nose up, hitting the splitter. That just seemed like it was maybe just hitting harder and popping up more or something. Just seemed a little harsher. When the car was tight on the bottom, it would come up more. But when I wasn't on the bottom and I was in the middle to the top, it was loose all the way through. You're screwed either way. You're trying to figure out how you can get it tight enough on the top to be able to run the bottom and still be able to run the bottom decent.
What the deal is with the shock package? So you tie the back down to make the car go fast, because you want to hold the back of the car down and keep that big wing out of the air. When you do, when the car hits the bumps, the back won't go down because it's already down, but the front will pop up. So it hits the bump, the front pops up. Then when the rear tires hit that same bump, they skip. The front pops up, the back hits, and it skips. It jumps over the bump because of the rebound in the shock. So he's right. I don't know where the happy medium is. There must be one, because some guys seem to be handling it okay, but not for everybody.
Clint Boyer getting the backup car out and ready. Friday, NASCAR's trucks are back. We're there in Daytona for the clashes, crashes, and all the high bank excitement. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series season opener, Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern only on Speed.
One of the most interesting stories, I think, about this 2010 truck season and starting right here at Daytona, Kyle Busch. We know how dominant he's always been in that series, driving for Billy Blue. Well, now he's driving his own truck, Kyle Busch Motorsports. He has a second truck with Taylor Mawson. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kyle does as a driver-owner now.
Well, with his team manager over there, Larry, you work with Rick Wren. Wherever Rick Wren goes, they usually figure out a way to make their trucks handle well and run well and win. He was with Ron Hornaday last year over there at Kevin Harvick's. Now he's with Kyle. Good. That was a good catch.
Yes, it was. If I was putting any kind of a race team together, Rick Rim would be my man.
Yeah.
Now, excuse me, one change in the top 5 among the Go homers. David Gilliland in a one-race ride for BAM Racing, returning to the sport after sitting out for a year. Gilliland right now is 3rd among the Go homers in that number 49.
And of course, as we always talk about the scoring monitor here, once we get into this configuration, you know, it's always nice to know you're as high as you possibly can be. But what probably happened, David got in a pack that was maybe lined up well, catching a pack, and that ran that speed up there. The good thing is he knows his car will run that fast.
About 15 minutes left in this first of 2 practice sessions for Thursday's Gatorade Duel.
Don't need nothing but a good time. How can I resist? Ain't looking for nothing but a good time.
Come see how NASCAR's big boys play Capture the Flag at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The Cobalt Tools 500 weekend, March 5th through 7th. Tickets start at only $39. Call 1-8779-AMS-TIX or go to atlantamotorspeedway.com.
And it don't get better than this.
Once we're clear for takeoff, our flight time to Vancouver will be 2 hours and 15 minutes.
This winter, the world's greatest athletes are coming to Canada, along with 2 of gaming's greatest superstars. Use your Wii Balance Board or play with up to 4 friends in over 25 events. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games. Available now. Rated E for everyone.
Looks like we're going to be a little delayed taking off today.
NASCAR's back, and we're there in Daytona as the hammer comes down and rivalries reignite. The Gatorade Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 p.m. Eastern. NASCAR on Speed. Be there. Attention.
I'm an Olympic medalist from Olympic Valley. It's pretty cool when you can write on your address, Olympic Valley, California. This is Julia Mancuso, alpine skiing. I grew up in the mountains. My parents used to drop me off at the hill every day, and the mountain was basically my babysitter. The day I won my gold, I just fell in the snow and enjoyed the moment. A crazy dream come true.
Cache Creek Casino Resort is a proud local advertiser in NBC Universal's coverage of the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Winter Games.
This isn't going to be just any flu season, and expectant mothers, children, and young adults are especially at risk for the H1N1 flu virus. So let's join together and fight the flu. By getting your flu vaccine, you'll protect yourself and help prevent the spread of the flu. Flu vaccines are safe and are the most effective way to prevent the flu. Get the facts at flu.gov. Together,
we can all fight the flu.
Near the TV, get NASCAR race and qualifying results and breaking news right to your phone. Stay up to date with Speed mobile alerts. Text NASCAR to Speed 3 or 773333 to sign up. Here are the Go homers, ranked by practice speed. And those outlined in blue were fast enough in time trial qualifying that they will be in the 500. Now, if you're on page 2, that's the wrong end of the board.
And you know, it seems like every year it comes down to the end of those dual races with a couple of those guys for the transfer spot actually running side by side or nose to tail.
Yeah, it usually comes down to a really good battle right at the finish. And we'll be here live to show it to you tomorrow.
On Speed.
Sam Hornish and Casey Kane. Casey is 7th. Sam is 25th. Brad Keselowski, and look at that splitter that Joey Logano was talking about earlier.
And Sam Hornish has run quite a number of laps in this practice session. He's run almost 50 laps in that 77 car. You know, one other thing that is kind of unique to the dual race is to kind of make it fair for those go-or-go-home guys. The top 35, if you finish in the odd number of owner points of 2009, you're in the first dual race. The even numbers are in the second dual race. That kind of puts an even amount of those guys. And then the go-or-go-homers, you've almost got the same amount in each race. That way one is not saturated or diluted from one group or the other.
Well, that's right. In the old days, you could have all the top 10 in points all end up in one dual race. And, you know, some fellas feel like they had very little chance to make the field. So now they try to even it out.
Well, you know, we've always watched the duels, and the first one seemed like the first one's always the wild one. You know, things happen in the first one, and all the drivers up on the trucks watching. Then they get into the second one, and the second one is almost like boring because everybody said, oh, man, did you see what happened there? Oh, man, did you see what happened there? And the first one usually ends up being pretty crazy. The second one pretty sane.
You know, Chris DeVoda asked me the other night on the Race Hub show, she said, Larry, which dual race would you prefer to be in? I said, you know, I know back when Jeff and I were crew chiefs, we would look at the lineups, and there's no question. There was always one that was a little more competitive than the other. The way the competition is today, it's hard to say there's an easy and a hard one. I prefer the second one because I don't know how many times we've walked in here on Thursday and the track be totally different. So you can learn a lot by watching, listening, and observing that first race, especially if you've got a teammate in it.
Well, the other reason I like the second one is there are no what-ifs. After that first one runs, you know who's got a chance to be in on speed and who's not. And then it's all in your hands. You don't have to run that first race and then wonder what might happen to see if you might get in because somebody else does very well or doesn't.
Yeah, those the adjustments that Larry's talking about. I can remember being sitting down there. It's back when you could do kind of play with the spoiler a little bit. You'd have your spoiler back at maybe 30 degrees, and your teammate is out in the first race, and he's screaming, "I'm so loose, I can't drive it." You're over there with a big rubber hammer beating that spoiler up to more like 45 degrees, tighten that thing up a little bit.
You're always bumping it up. Did you ever bump it down?
Only when it was
about
necessary.
for the dual race.
Today, an American tradition is renewed as Speed sets the stage for Daytona's biggest events. The Hershey's Milk and Milkshake Speed Weeks at Daytona. Coverage continues today. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
In 1873, Coors Banquet was shipped by stage to places like Durango, Leadville, and Cripple Creek. Thirsty miners demanded a beer made with the best high country barley and only Rocky Mountain water. Today, our beer is shipped by rail to places like Memphis, Buffalo, and Sacramento. But one thing hasn't changed. Folks still demand a banquet. Coors, the banquet beer.
Would you like to take a road trip to a place with no roads? Then check out Bass Pro Shops for great deals on great gear, like Under Armour long sleeve tech t-shirts for just $24.99, and save $20 on new Bass Pro Carbon Light fishing rods.
We now offer phone service for $1.70 a month with Magic Jack. That's just $19.95 a year. $19.95 a year. We give you free local and long distance and your own phone number. Replace your phone company or add a second line with Magic Jack.
Speed's presentation of Sprint Cup practice is brought to you by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com starting Friday and enter your design. By Marathon, fueling the American spirit. And by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Try a new way to indulge in Hershey's.
You know, Mike, before the break, we were talking about, you know, the unknowns once the first dual race is in the book. We've had this happen before, and it could happen tomorrow. Mike Bliss in Tommy Baldwin's 36 car is in the second dual race. He has the 6th quickest speed of the go-or-go-homers. If indeed Bill Elliott and Joe Nemechek race their way in the first duel, Mike Bliss gets locked in and hadn't even raced yet on Thursday.
That's right. So the go-or-go-home fastest cars: Scott Speed, Mike Bliss, David Gilliland, Casey Mears, Michael McDowell, and Todd Bodine.
If I were Mike Bliss and that happened to me, run a few laps, get a plug check, and bring her to the house.
Feels good. Let's get ready to race on
Ready
Sunday.
to go.
Not a whole lot of time left in this practice session. I'd say there's probably a number of crew chiefs down in that garage area that'll be probably more than happy to see the red and black flag waved in this practice.
Matt?
Mike crew chief Pat Trison on the 56 trying to get his car back out for one more run. The past 3 runs, Martin Truex has said the car is just extremely tight. They made a right front shock change, also left front shock change. They're going to try to get a reading so that way they can go maybe a different direction for the second session a little later this afternoon.
And that's the one area that these guys really have to work in is the front of the car, the front sway bar, anti-roll bar, the front shocks and the front springs. And the thing about it, you a lot of the time have to change all 3 of those items because it's a package that works together.
Well, they're gaining on it, Larry, because Truex is the only driver out there to improve on his fastest lap late in the session. His best lap was his 26th of a total of 29 so far. So
I think
they're gaining on it.
Yeah, he and Pat Trison, it'll probably take a little bit of time. I mean, Pat's used to working with Kurt Busch, and now he's got Martin, and they're 2 totally different personalities. And I'm not sure about their driving styles, but just the communication thing may take a little bit of time.
We'll be back with the final moments of the first of 2 practice sessions today.
12 screaming engines breathing hard. It's a sound you better get used to because Bull Run returns for a new season. We'll see who puts it on the line and who's just spinning their wheels. Bull Run, one hell of a ride this February, exclusively on Speed.
Thursday.
Put her on the phone!
I can't frickin' talk right now! Archer, all new. Thursday at 10, only on FX.
I'm really proud to be a part of it. Love, it's pretty amazing.
Her name is Amanda Brookman, and she is my destiny, although she may not know that, per se. So you can go online and make any kind of car you want. I made a love car.
Do I think they stand a chance? I mean, who doesn't love love? I love love.
Who? Breast cancer is a story of people. More than 250,000 people will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year. Ending breast cancer is the story of the National Breast Cancer Coalition. NBCC makes certain the right research gets done, dollars are well spent, and women have access to health care they need. The NBCC is a coalition of voices with one goal: ending breast cancer now. Add your voice to the story. Give to the National Breast Cancer Coalition and stop breast cancer now. Go to stopbreastcancer.org.
Welcome to the center of the universe. Eye of the sheet metal storm. A V8 vortex of soul-stirring thunder and blistering speed. Where pistons pound out the fury of 35,000 horses in unison with 100,000 beating hearts. A world where adrenaline is the fuel of choice. And everything else is just a game.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Top 10 on the board. Looks about like it did. All for the last hour or so, but during practice, different agendas, drivers trying different things. Here's Brad Keselowski practicing getting down to pit road speed and pulling into his pit stall and out again.
Darrell, that has to be tough, trying to get on the pit road with fairly wore out tires. You're out there running 190 miles an hour. By the time you get to the lights, you have to be down to 55.
Yeah, you know, you can give up so much to someone you're competing against. If you don't get on pit road as fast as the other guy does, obviously you're going to lose a lot of time to the field. But, man, it's such a fine line between overdoing it, getting a speeding penalty. Then you get down here to your pit box and you picked up all that trash on your tires, and inevitably 3 or 4 guys will slide all the way through their pit box. And this pit road is slick. I mean, and there's a reason. 24-hour race. Those guys were here working on that pit lane, and you can look at every pit box down there. Look at all the oil. I mean, the pit boxes are slick.
And then, of course, if your crew chief's going to make a call maybe for a short run to change just right side tires, you can't slide and flat spot the left.
See all those dark spots? That's just where in a 24-hour race they come in and add oil to the cars. You see all those places. Those are just oil spots. And so the pit boxes are slick. You can see there. I think I'd go out there and wash that baby down if it's mine.
And a lot of teams do just that. They bring Tide.
Yeah, Tide.
You know, ever since the days Tide was a big sponsor in this sport, they all come out and they're scrubbing down their pit stalls before the race.
Well, oil, and then there's all kind of little debris, pieces of rubber. The 24-hour race was just here 2 weeks ago, so that's still residuals from all that. Let's go to the truck.
Practice is over. Matt Kenseth.
Lunch is ready.
Wins practice. Kyle Busch, Brian Vickers, Jeff Burton, and Carl Edwards are the fast 5.
That's an up on it lap, too, 46.33.
Yeah. And there are the fastest speeds of those who must race their way in. I like Casey Mears' chances. He was out there drafting with some of the really good quick cars out here late in this session. I think he can race his way in.
You know, we talked about the speed of the Hendrick cars. Right now, the fastest Hendrick car, Mark Martin, our poll sitter, 19th quickest in that practice.
All right, in about 30 minutes, we'll be back with the second and final practice session of the afternoon for NASCAR's Sprint Cup Series.
Welcome, race fans, to NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota. The work continues in the Sprint Cup garage area as drivers and teams try to figure out exactly what they're going to do to make their cars handle better and thus go faster. On a picture-perfect day here, not a cloud in the sky at the Daytona International Speedway, but it is nonetheless chilly along the way and a little bit of wind as well, as you see a bit of damage on some of those cars that had a minor incident, if you will, or major to them. Your pole sitting car is getting worked on in the garage area as well, as we had a very fairly incident-free session, except for that involving the number 33 of Clint Boyer, David Rudiman, and Derek Cope, and we will get more on that in just a moment. Welcome, everyone, to the Speed Stage. I'm John Roberts. Glad to have you along for part of our 134 hours of coverage from Speed Weeks. Alongside of me, we have Kyle Petty and Jeff Hammond back again to wrap up the action. But first, we're going to take a look at what's coming up today on Speed for the rest of the afternoon. We got you covered right here. No need to go anywhere else for your NASCAR coverage. Sprint Cup practice coming at 2 o'clock Eastern time. NASCAR Live at 5 Eastern. And then the truckers get their chance to hit the track here with Camping World Truck Series practice. And if you've watched the Truck Series over the past few years here at Daytona, you know they have provided some of the most exciting finishes we have ever seen at this track. Now let's take a look at the practice session that just concluded a moment ago. It's the first of 2 practices for the Sprint Cup Series today, and we're going to take a look at some of the faster cars out on the racetrack today. And among them, you had some Fords up there, but the Toyota of Brian Vickers was 3rd fastest overall. And those guys are picking up, it seems, where they left off last year as somewhat of the surprise entry into the chase for the Sprint Cup Championship. Great practice so far today for the 83 of Brian Vickers. Up there on the speed chart as well, he was joined by another Toyota. 2nd fastest overall was the 18 of Kyle Busch, who had mixed results from these big racetracks over the last couple of years, and they're looking to start off, not where they ended off last year, and that was by missing the chase. But the fastest car out on the racetrack was piloted by none other than your defending Daytona 500 champion, and that's Matt Kenseth, who was fastest in this first practice. The very familiar number 17, but with the different paint scheme, he was on top of the speed chart. Now let's take a look at the incident that happened out on the racetrack. It was Clint Boyer in the number 33, cut a right front tire, went up the racetrack. David Rudiman with nowhere to go, and then Derek Cope with nowhere to go. We have reports from the garage that Clint Boyer and David Rudiman both are going to backup cars, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as that unfolds through the rest of the afternoon. Let's take a look at the speed chart. Top 10 fastest coming your way. We told you about Kenseth, Busch, and Vickers, but how about Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards rounding out your top 5 to have 2 Fords in the top 5. Casey Kanan, a Ford as well in the number 7 spot. Then it's Rudeman, Kevin Harvick, and your reigning Rookie of the Year entering his sophomore campaign is Joey Logano, and he was 10th fastest. Down in the garage area for us today, we have Ray Dunlap and Bob Dillner. We're going to start out with you, Mr. Dunlap.
You know, Johnny, if you talk to all the drivers, owners, or crew chiefs down here in the NASCAR garage area and you asked them their opinion on the green-white checkered policy, you'd probably get about 25 different answers. But I'm hearing down in the garage area that there's a possibility that NASCAR is going to make a change to their policy coming up. Now, we've had a lot of green-white checkers in all 3 of NASCAR's top divisions. When you look at the numbers, it's hard to determine just how many times they actually took the white flag, because a lot of times the wrecks happen on the very first lap in the green flag lap. So I think NASCAR's looked at that and they said, we want to make things better for the fans. What I'm hearing, their possible change may be that you have to take the white flag or there will be multiple attempts at a green-white checkered. Whatever they're looking at, I think we'll hear more about that in the next couple days here in Daytona. Bob?
Well, Ray, right now we're hearing a lot about 2 cars here in this garage area that got involved in an incident and had to go to backup cars, as Johnny just told us. And one of the cars right here, Clint Bowyer's number 33 machine. What this team is doing right now is they're taking this car through the technical process. It's a 4 or 5 stage process here in the garage area, and then they get a sticker which will go on the front windshield of the car. They have accomplished 90% of that technical process to get this car approved for Clint Bowyer to go back out on the racetrack. This car, a very good car. It's their Daytona 500 car from 1 year ago, and he finished 4th in last year's Great American Race. Another guy involved in that incident was the 00 of David Rudeman. Rudeman having a big time out there in that practice session. His car was running pretty well, but we take a look actually with our other camera of that wrecked race car, and it sits now here in the garage area, really crunched up from a shot from behind from Derek Cope in the 75 car. But this car here in the garage area right now has not gone through the technical process. You can see it sits right there. It's up on the scale pads. This team is setting the car up, but before they get out on the racetrack, they will have to take that car through the same technical process that the 33 guys did of Clint Bowyer.
Bob, thanks a lot. A lot to do and not a lot of time to do it. And down in the garage area, those guys are working hard trying to get those cars back out there. And what is the decision process like, Jeff? What do you do when you look at that car? Because on some tracks, you might want to just take that primary car and work it back out again, but not here at Daytona.
No, you got to understand there's a lot of work that's gone into getting this speedway car prepared for Daytona. And the number of hours is probably immeasurable. But what you have to worry about also is the fact there's probably some frame damage. And NASCAR has to tell you, okay, we're going to allow you to go to that backup car. It's not just an arbitrary decision made by the crew chief and the driver. So for these 2 teams, or really 3 teams that have been involved in this is exactly what we didn't want to see happen when we were talking before the first practice rolled out. This is not something that Derek Cope needs, because he needs to race his way in. His best car is now destroyed. Probably doesn't have as good a car as Clint Bowyer does to fall back on. So these 2 guys, Clint Bowyer and David Rudeman, their teams need to get these cars prepared, get back out in this practice some way, shape, or form, make sure they're not hitting the racetrack, because I guarantee you, driver, you don't want to start that 150 with no laps on the car.
No, and that's the problem. You know, these cars, now we're talking about the 33 and the 00, that has to go back through the inspection process. And we know how long the inspection process, there's 30 minutes between the first practice and the second practice. And the second practice is the last practice before the duels. So now you're looking at Bowyer and those guys sitting there thinking, okay, I got to get this thing through inspection, I got to get it back out on the racetrack, and I'm going to be lucky to get 8 or 10 laps in it. And he's going to start that race. That's for teammates, and good teammates like Jeff Burton and Kevin Harvick and guys like that are going to come in handy.
And one other thing, right, we're going to see real quick who was prepared.
Yeah.
Preparation at the shop for both of these organizations right now will be at a premium. If they did their homework and these cars are ready to roll off the truck, they can get it done pretty quickly. If not, they're not going to get any practice.
You're only as good as your Plan B, and it looks like for Richard Childress Racing Group, that Plan B has that car that Bob said was very fast in the last Daytona 500. We'll see about the Plan B for the rest of the group. It's out there, and hopefully no one else has to go to Plan B after this afternoon's practice session. NASCAR Live is presented by Toyota, and we'll be back.
NASCAR Live is presented by The Sponsifier,
Visit ToyotaRacing.com starting February 12th and enter your design. Brought to you in part by TaxSlayer.com, proud sponsor of Bobby Labonte and the TaxSlayer.com number 71 car, and by Atlanta Motor Speedway. Come see how NASCAR's big boys play Capture the Flag at Atlanta Motor Speedway, March 5th through the 7th.
Here's to getting a weekend project done in record time. Here's to mapping out a game plan, to precise measurements, and powerful tools that make a lot of noise. Here's to getting your hands dirty and ending up with something you can be proud of. Really proud of. Here's to Joey Logano and that number 20 team. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
H&R Block at Home. It's fast, it's easy, and it's written in plain English. But most of all, it's about giving you the confidence you'll need to hit the send button. Try H&R Block at Home and get it right.
I'd like the sirloin, chicken and pork too, all wrapped in bacon, and all for around $10.
Security! You can't match Golden Corral's Applewood Grill. It's sirloin, chicken breast, and our new scallops, all with Applewood bacon, all for around $10. Only at Golden Corral.
Welcome to the Now Network. 3 skiers are trapped on a chairlift, each with one of Sprint's best 3G phones. Carl passes the time searching for apps on his Samsung Moment with Google. Candace mixes business with pleasure on the newest BlackBerry Curve, America's favorite smartphone, now even smarter. And Rose is getting updated on her sleek and slim Palm Pixie. Once again, bringing you the nation's best lineup of phones and its first and only wireless 4G network. Sprint, the Now Network.
Welcome to the center of the universe. Eye of the sheet metal storm. A V8 vortex of soul-stirring thunder and blistering speed. Where pistons pound out the fury of 35,000 horses in unison with 100,000 beating hearts. A world where adrenaline is the fuel of choice. And everything else is just a game.
Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota, where we are continuing preparation for practice number 2 of the day for the Sprint Cup Series. Now, to begin each season, NASCAR gets back to its roots from the beach to the blacktop. It all started here at Daytona, and in the off-season, the NASCAR front office made an effort to bring racing back to basics.
There's not one change that NASCAR has done in this offseason that I disagree with. It's everything is going to make our sport stronger, and they've been on this getting back to the roots thing for the last couple years, but this is the first time I've really seen them do a lot of things that the fans are really going to love.
Anytime you can take rules away and judgment calls away from something, I think it makes it more of a pure sport.
How many times has NASCAR actually penalized drivers for spinning somebody out for wrecking? It could happen every lap, every race, and it doesn't because people know if it happens to you, it's coming back. You know what I mean? So it really polices itself. I think it being in the driver's hands is perfectly okay.
NASCAR has created so many rules over the last couple of years that have kind of put them in a corner, really. You know, when you think about the yellow line rule, you know, here at Daytona and the no bump drafting, it's such a judgment call, you know, and when they make that call and you come in and you try to argue it, there's nothing to argue because it's their judgment, you know. I think it's good that, you know, things are going to be more clear-cut because it's a little bit more in our hands now.
The reason we're not in fist fights every week and crashing each other every lap of the track is because we don't want to go through that stuff. I mean, it might be entertaining, but when you're living it, you don't want to do it. So I think if we really focus on how competitive our sport is, how amazing our sport is, the stars of the sport, the talent that's within our sport, we'll have a very, very exciting.
Now, some of the biggest rule changes we'll see right away down here at Daytona. We're talking about not policing the bump drafting as hard as we did at the last Talladega race, and also a bigger restrictor plate, whereas last year at Talladega it was smaller, and they were going to police the heck out of the bump drafting anywhere on the racetrack. What do you think, Kyle? Positive, negative?
For the fans, it's positive. For the drivers, it's negative. I think I like bump drafting down the straightaway. I hate bump drafting in the corners from a competitor's standpoint. To drive that car, be on my bumper and push me to the win on the last couple of laps, I'm with you. Bump draft me all the way around. But I think we saw it a little bit the other night when Jeff got right up under the 16 car. 16 car had trouble. You're so close, you can't tell whether that guy has trouble. These guys go in the corner here, somebody checks up, they all just bunch up on each other. It's really hard to see what's going on, especially when you're just banging the guy. But I think for the fans, it's a plus. I got to give NASCAR credit for stepping out of the way a little bit.
Hey, Tom. Hey, this is Hammond. Load the third car and get it started back down. We may need
third. Some of these guys are on their fourth.
I mean, optimistic.
No, that's true. That's
the thing as a crew chief right now. That's the good and the bad. If they do their jobs, no problem. It's scary enough out there when they had them kind of like handcuffed, them making a mistake.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here on NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota. When we come back, we'll get you back down in the garage area as the preparations continue for practice number 2 of the day. And the fans are out in full force on this beautiful, sunny afternoon at Daytona.
NASCAR's back, and we're there in Daytona as the hammer comes down and rivalries reignite. The Gatorade Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 p.m. Eastern. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
I see you have the Verizon network.
Yeah.
You know, if you had AT&T, you'd have the nation's fastest 3G network. And you'd be able to download songs faster, download videos faster. You could talk and surf the web at the same time. You got a little map in your suit.
When you compare, there's no comparison. AT&T, a better 3G experience. Buy any smartphone after mail-in rebate and get any messaging phone free after mail-in rebate.
Wondering what...
Hi.
Hi. Patience. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
This is your team, Sacramento.
You gotta love its aggressiveness. 45 points.
Your team.
Here come the Kings. Put it in the book. Send him to the line. Yes! Oh, what a pass! And they love it here in Sacramento.
And this is your network, Comcast Sportsnet California.
Comcast Sportsnet California.
The exclusive television home of your Sacramento Kings.
Kings Pistons, Wednesday night at 4:30 on Comcast Sportsnet California.
Click today.
Tonight, an American tradition is renewed as Hershey's Milk and Milkshake Speed Weeks continues in Daytona. Get up to speed on all the happenings in the garage area with more of NASCAR Live. That's tonight at 5 Eastern only on Speed. Welcome back, everybody, here at Speed as we're continuing our 134 hours of coverage here of the happenings at Speed Weeks. And Ray Dunlap's got an update from the garage for us, Ray?
Well, a lot of nerves down here in this part of the garage for sure as we get ready for tomorrow's Gatorade Duel. Casey, you guys look like you've got this thing pretty tuned in. Normally by now the driver can say, we got a good shot to get in. Do you have that feeling?
I mean, I do feel like we have a good shot. You know, obviously the biggest thing that we need to do is get out there and get in this big pack right out of the gate and kind of see what we got. We've been in, 15, 10-car packs, and you get a good idea what the car's going to handle like, but every time the race starts, it's always something different. So definitely want to get out in this first pack and really get a good feel for what we have. But so far, all the guys on the Keyed Up Motorsports number 90 have done a good job And it's been a short amount of time, and the guys have done a good job prepping the car up to this point.
This may be a little before your time, but this whole effort gives me a little feel of a Junie Donlevy-esque thing. I think he was the last guy to run a number 90, and this is quite an effort you guys have put together.
Yeah, that's what I hear too, and obviously it was before my time. I've heard a lot of good things about him. It's funny now that we're running this 90 car, I've had guys, some of the older guys in the garage come up and reference that and hear a lot of good things about him, so hopefully we can go out there and hold the 90 up proud.
All right, an independent effort. Casey Mears running well here in practice, thinking they've got a good shot. And guys, how cool is that to see a 90 back in the garage from an independent effort?
Absolutely very cool to see the number 90. And I think when he was talking about old guys, he was talking about all of us, talking about Junie Donlevy. But what a difference a year makes for Casey Mears and company. He was here last year with Richard Childress Racing, this fully funded multi-car team, and now here he is trying to make the show.
You come with a safety net, it's a great place to come. You come without a safety net, it's the worst place to come, is it not?
It is no other way you could probably put it. It's like doing a high wire act with a net or without a net when it comes to Daytona and trying to do that. And again, this place is so special. You want to join the league of Curtis Turner and Fireball Roberts to say you've raced here, but when you have put 2 months of effort, realize what I'm saying, 2 months minimum, to come down here and make the Daytona 500, to have somebody come and say, hey, nice try, you get them next year. Next year don't mean doodly squat. There's a lot of guys right now, if they make the Daytona 500, they got jobs after Daytona. Yeah. There's a lot of teams right now, if they don't make the Daytona 500, their year's gone, and so are their jobs.
Yep. Because when you're talking about the top 35 in points, it is so hard to get in there if you are already out before the second race of the season in California. Well, stay with us here on NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota, because as we continue on this week, tomorrow NASCAR's back, and we are there in Daytona for a pair of races on the high banks. The field will be set for the 500, the Gatorade Duel in Daytona Thursday at 2 Eastern, only on Speed.
Today, an American tradition is renewed as Speed sets the stage for Daytona's biggest events. The Hershey's Milk and Milkshake Speed Weeks at Daytona. Coverage continues today. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
The Gillette Young Guns in their greatest challenge ever.
What's going on here?
We're doing the Gillette 500.
Going around the country trying to shave 500 miles of guys' faces.
5 blades, 3 teams, and a race to the finish.
I think we're winning. Got sensitive skin? Try Gillette Fusion.
Talk about comfort.
Ding, ding. We don't do burgers. Join our team.
Join us.
You like to join our team?
Gets you right here, doesn't it? Join the action at Gillette500.com.
Patience. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Are you sure this is HD?
It's AT&T HD.
Looks like bad HD.
The details are a little fuzzy with AT&T. Take it that Comcast has way better HD picture and the most HD choices.
Guys, I'm right here.
I got your back, kid.
Shaq's got your back.
Don't settle for less with AT&T. Get more HD choices and the best rated HD picture quality with Comcast.
Dad, can Shaq stay for dinner?
Yeah, Dad. Can Shaq stay for dinner?
The blue.
Sometimes I have trouble sleeping, and tomorrow's a big day. So I trust Unisong. I fall asleep fast into a deep, restful sleep all night and wake up ready to face the toughest crowd.
Morning, class.
Clinically proven Unisong. Good night, good morning.
It's the wildest collection of talent ever assembled at trackside. Singers, dancers, comedians, and more in a breakthrough racing entertainment hour. It's Fast Track to Fame, premiering Monday, March 1st at 9 Eastern, only on Speed. And we promise that Jeff Hammond will neither be singing nor dancing when it comes to the other trackside program. Or can we promise that?
Amen, brother. I'll tell you, that's all the singing.
No singing, no dancing. No singing, no dancing.
You don't sing and dance?
No.
The countdown continues to the duel at Daytona, and let's now take a look at just exactly how the field is set for the 52nd running of the Daytona 500. As we mentioned earlier today, it is a little bit difficult to understand unless you just go down to where you can either race or not.
I'm deferred to my esteemed colleague. I got one job on Thursday, and that's to drive as hard as I can from the time they drop the green flag until they throw the checker. It's the crew chief's job to figure out who I got to beat and to tell me who I got to beat. So I'm going to put it on you.
You're exactly right. We already got an idea generally. We got 3 guys that are already locked in on speed. You know who that's going to be. You know that's the 21 of Elliott, Scott Speed in 82 and Nemechek in 87. Right now, the pivotal guy is the 71 who is defending former champion, the 71 of Bobby Labonte. Those 4 guys are very good. They're locked in. There's basically 4 spots open. 2 in the first race that you race your way in, and 2 in the second race. If you're able to accomplish that, then everything else is good.
Exactly.
If not, then all of a sudden there's a scenario to go through this thing, JR, and it will take us 30 minutes to explain it. So the best thing I can tell you, tune in tomorrow, watch the duels on Speed. These guys have got to do it right.
Yeah, these guys, there's 4 guys basically out of that list that we just had on the screen that are going to be in the Daytona 500.
And that's tough.
Sunday.
And
that is tough.
There's a lot of scenarios that could go in or out that could change who goes where and when. But as we've already talked about, there's really basically only 4 spots left for the Daytona 500 for one of that group to come out of.
Yeah. So basically what we can say is that you could finish, technically, a guy could finish in the top 5 in one of the duels and not make the Daytona 500, depending on who's top 4.
And that's the way it's set up now. Used to, when many years ago, when I was fortunate enough to drive a race car, you came down here, the top 2 positions were set, and then you raced for your starting positions. But you weren't automatically in. It still went through speed. It still went through provisionals. It still went through a lot of things. Yeah. It's a lot tougher. Let me just say that. I think it's a lot tougher and a lot more pressure packed now.
It used to be 14, I think, starting spots in the original out of each race, and then it went the other way. But Bob Dillner, you know good and well, there's a lot of nervous guys down in that garage area right now.
One of those guys is Michael Waltrip, and that's who we're going to talk about in the Geico Pit Report. His number 51 Napa Auto Parts car, 42nd quick in the first practice session of the day. But my question to Michael here is, do you have the 42nd worst car in the field?
No, I have a really good car. I'm happy with it. The front end's really sticking to the road. I struggled a little bit with that on Saturday night, but my car was pretty good then, and this one's even better. And it's got good speed. I just got out there late because I don't have any points, and the big, massive draft wasn't around, so that's how you get those times. I'd rather be up first like Matt Kenseth, but I'm happy that I'd rather be where I'm at and happy with my car than where he is and not.
We know you're very good in the draft, 2-time 500 winner. But I want to know how you are going to sleep tonight knowing that you're not locked into the 500 and you got to go after it in that Gatorade duel.
It's fun. I need this. This is exciting, and it's also an opportunity for us to put another MWR car in the field. And unfortunately, when I looked at the lineup, none of my partners, none of my teammates are in my race, but I'm happy. Came here in 07 and had some trouble during qualifying, didn't get to practice one lap, and had to race in on Thursday and accomplish that. And I have that same energy about tomorrow's race. Hey, look, we make these at MWR. We got a machine that'll cut that right out of metal. It's called a Jet Edge. Cuts with water. Ain't that amazing?
Not too shabby. And you know what? 42nd quick for Michael Waltrip. Johnny, it's like a misconception down here. You always cannot look at that speed chart to tell how the guys are doing on the racetrack.
Exactly. Opportunity for Michael Waltrip and other drivers to race their way in on Thursday. That's why you need to tune into the duel here on Speed. It's a day of drama and excitement, and the winner is not the only thing you're looking at in these races. We'll be back to NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota, in a moment.
NASCAR Live is presented by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com starting February 12th and enter your design. Brought to you in part by Marathon, fueling the American spirit. And by DirecTV. To get the most out of your high-def TV, you gotta hook it up to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
I'm really proud to be a part of it. Love, it's pretty amazing.
Her name is Amanda Brookman, and she is my destiny, although she may not know that, per se.
So you can go online and make any kind of car you want. I made a love car.
Do I think they stand a chance? I mean, who doesn't love love?
I love love.
Who?
Right now, Mrs. Jones is freeing herself from restrictive calling circles and switching her entire family to Sprint. That way, her daughter isn't limited to lame calling plans. Her son can talk all day long. And while on the Sprint network, if her husband pocket dials any mobile phone nationwide,
Oh, this is Flavor Flav. Who's this?
it's no big deal. Welcome to the Now Network. Get any mobile anytime for just $42.50 a month per person with unlimited text and data. And get a phone upgrade every year plus other exclusive rewards. Sprint, the Now Network.
Half the calories?
All the day.
Half the calories?
All the day.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Sting like a bee. Half the calories, all the G. I know that's right.
Wanted to get myself a new cell phone so I could hear myself as a ringtone. Who knew the store would go and check my credit score? Now all they let me have is this dinosaur. Hello, hello, hello. Can anybody hear me? I know. I should have gone to freecreditreport.com. That's where I should have gone. Could have got my knowledge on.
Free credit score and report with enrollment and Triple Advantage.
We are just a couple of minutes away from another Sprint Cup practice session, the second of the day, and we already have 2 cars going to backup Plan B. So now, driver, crew chief, with the time left in this show, what do we do? Where are we going?
We're going to the bus, and we're going to spend a restless night tonight. That's all I can tell you. 15 of us are anyhow.
I agree with you on that. Right there. The other part of us are still out there trying to figure out what we need to do. You want to keep your nose clean at all costs right now. You don't need to go to a backup car in this last practice.
And get that car handling as good as you can, because we got some racing coming your way tomorrow on the duel at Daytona. And right now, we're going to send it up topside to Mike Joy and company.
You're watching Speed's coverage of Speed Weeks, presented by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Final practice for the Gatorade Duel that you will see live tomorrow here on Speed. Welcome back to Daytona. With Darrell Waltrip and Larry McReynolds, I'm Mike Joy. Well, they had an hour and a half to twist on them, turn on them, go out running the draft, 2 wide, 3 wide, and all over. Now you've had a half an hour to fix things, and you got an hour to go. What do you want to do?
Well, I've either tweeted or I've emailed somebody back at the shop, and I've told them what my problems are, and they went out and got on the 7-post or whatever sim they may have, and they ran a couple of programs to see if they can find out what they can do to their car to make it better. Maybe it's a change in the shocks or springs or sway bars or some roll center thing or track bar, whatever. Because during that break right there, that technology that they have back at the shop, they utilized it to try to fix their race car.
But based on what we saw with 2 or 3 race cars near the end of that practice, we're going to go out there and we're going to make us a little confirmation run. And we're probably going to park her and put our race checklist on the side because, yeah, you've got to get that thing driving good. And the only way you can do it is long runs in a pack. But you know what? We had an hour and a half. If we didn't get it very good then, chances are we're not going to find it in the next hour.
So that's what I always like about me and Hammond. We had like 1 or 2 things we knew to do, and after that, we were done.
Emptied the bucket.
If I didn't fix it, we were done.
Here's our Gillette track description of Daytona International Speedway. 3,000 feet down the backstretch and counting the tri-oval, 3,800 across the front. Down to the Sprint Cup garage located between turn 4 and the start-finish line, and Dick Berggren.
And Clint Boyer and David Rudiman are starting all over because in that last practice session, the right front tire on Boyer's car let go. He went into the wall. Rudiman had no place to go, got involved in it. Both of these drivers are preparing backup cars. Boyer's car is a good one. This is the same car in which he finished 4th in the Daytona 500 last year. They're a little bit behind Rudiman. They haven't started the engine on this one yet, and David's getting ready to go. He has just climbed into his race car. It was a little bit closer to being ready as a backup car. Both of them now have got to get these cars ready to race in tomorrow's duels with very little time on the speedway left to go. Let's go to Chris Devoto.
Well, Dick, another driver who had very little time on the racetrack, albeit not as serious of an issue as Boyer and Rudiman,
was Ryan Newman. They had a fuel pickup problem. They were only able to get 17 laps in on the racetrack, and then everyone from Stewart-Haas was down here looking at the race car. They did get it figured out. Ryan was able to go back out with about 4 minutes left in practice, just turn one more lap. I talked to him just a few moments ago. He said, yes, the problem is solved. The bigger issue is why or how did it happen? Not sure of that yet, but he is out there on the racetrack.
Thanks, folks. 25 cars on track right now of the 54 entries for the 500. Another 5 waiting in line on pit road for their turn at the track. Marcus Ambrose puts up the low number right away, 46.535.
And this is where you really get those fast speeds. These cars are lined up, as you mentioned, a pack of about 25 cars out there. If you get one group lined up, catching that other group, that's when you'll really pick up the speed the way the draft works.
Whoa, man. Junior. What in the world? I thought he was out of here. I thought he was headed for the wall, but he saved it. I don't know. That was weird.
And I think his teammate we're riding with, Jimmy Johnson, thought so too. You heard him jump out of the throttle.
I don't know if Junior got loose when he tried to turn back up in front of Jamie McMurray or what happened in that one car there, but something happened.
That car just jumped.
Watch this. Let's see. Did he do that on purpose? Did he do that by purpose?
Top of your screen.
Yeah. Ooh, he got pushed.
Got a bump from Denny Hamlin.
Hamlin is having trouble with that first turn down there.
And I'm going to tell you what, had he gotten sideways and hit that wall, more than likely we'd be unloading about a dozen back up.
Yeah, and gosh, that was close. Oh, my. Oh, there's one around.
There goes Brian Vickers down in turn 1. Actually, that happened on the short chute between start-finish and turn 1. Doesn't look to be any major damage.
I don't know what these boys had for that little break there for lunch, but man, they came back out here wild and crazy.
Let's check with Krista. First, let's have a look at this.
Back in the pack back there.
With Vickers.
Man, he just gets, it looks like he must have gotten a shot coming out of the tri-oval and sent him down into the, fortunately, that paved area there.
And he was actually very close to the back of that pack.
Yeah, I think so. Most likely he got a little nip from the back.
He's away there. Now, that's the entrance and then the exit of the infield road course. That's why that area there is all paved.
Darrell talks about it so much. And we need more pavement. In my book, there need to be a blade of grass on the inside of a racetrack. But had that have been grass, he might have been in big trouble.
I'd pay the whole place as me.
Well, now let's go back to the Dale Jr. Denny Hamlin incident and Krista.
As soon as it happened, actually, Dale Jr. got on the radio, and the first thing he said is, the 11 doesn't know how to bump draft. Remember, Dale Jr., Denny Hamlin, very good friends, but not very friendly at that moment. Jr. actually told his team, I don't know how we just got out of that thing. They were joking a little bit. He said, I was leading that pack. How do you get wrecked when you're leading? They reminded him, it's Daytona, you can get wrecked just about anywhere. But yeah, Dale Jr. very lucky to get out of that situation. And to answer your question, Mike, what did they have for lunch? I would say it would either be jumping beans or maybe a milkshake, because they're doing a whole lot of shaking out there on the racetrack right now.
You know, this is almost the same area where Denny Hamlin got into Mark Martin the other night in Budweiser shootout practice.
Yes, sir. Very similar situation.
I'm really proud to be a part of it. Love, it's pretty amazing. Her name is Amanda Brookman, and she is my destiny, although she may not know that, per se. So you can go online and make any kind of car you want. I made a love car. Do I think they stand a chance? I mean, who doesn't love love? I love love.
Who?
This Friday.
Remember all the myths about Greek gods and goddesses? Well, they're not myths.
Don't open your eyes! Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief. Rated PG. Friday.
Would you like to take a road trip to a place with no roads? Then check out Bass Pro Shops for great deals on great gear, like Under Armour long sleeve tech t-shirts for just $24.99, and save $20 on new Bass Pro Carbon Light fishing rods.
That heart-shaped box of chocolates is everything.
That heart-shaped box of chocolates makes it special.
That heart-shaped box is tradition.
What better gift than a heart-shaped box of chocolate?
It's important. It means a lot.
Don't give her just any chocolates. Give her Russell Stover chocolates with the famous Russell Stover bow.
What if the person of your dreams is out there waiting for you? And what if eHarmony let you communicate with that person for free? Announcing the eHarmony free communication event this Thursday through Monday only. So get started today. Communicate with your matches for free at eHarmony.com.
Welcome to the center of the universe. Eye of the sheet metal storm. A V8 vortex of soul-stirring thunder and blistering speed. Where pistons pound out the fury of 35,000 horses in unison with 100,000 beating hearts. A world where adrenaline is the fuel of choice. And everything else is just a game.
Pete's presentation of Sprint Cup practice is brought to you by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Try a new way to indulge in Hershey's. By DirecTV. To get the most out of your high-def TV, you got to hook it up to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com starting Friday and enter your design. Here's another look at Brian Vickers at the top of your screen, just coming into view. Now this is in the tri-oval. Marcus Ambrose ahead. And we'll pick him up here again in a second. And that's Joey Logano right behind him.
Closing. Whoa, no. Joey didn't have too much to do with that. You don't see cars spin out in the tri-oval very often, but we've talked about how fast the tri-oval is. Quite a bit of banking there, but you're flying through this tri-oval. That thing just jumped around with Brian Vickers. I don't know what happened there.
Wait, is he lucky it snapped left and ended up sliding across the pavement and not the grass or into the inside wall?
Of course, Joey Logano's on his radio saying, I didn't do that. I didn't touch him. I didn't touch him.
No. Top practice times will scroll across your screen. Marcus Ambrose, Reed Sorensen, and Joey Logano are the fastest three so far. How about Marcos, Dick?
Well, he's the fastest on the board, Mike, but he doesn't like the behavior of his race car. He came in and told crew chief Frankie Kerr that the car is toyed. That's exactly what he said, toyed. I think that translates to tight. It's also bouncing off the racetrack, particularly in the left front corner, and they are on the radio talking back and forth with each other about what to do about that. They're kind of working on the bump stop in the left front corner as a way to solve that problem, but they haven't entirely decided that that's really what they want to do.
And a bad ride, an aggressive ride, holding the back of the car down like you can, will make you run a fast lap, but you can't do. You can only do that for a lap or two. It's not going to be a race car. It's maybe a fast lap car, but it's not a race car.
And you know, Darrell, I couldn't help but think while Dick was giving that report, and it's kind of you caught between a rock and a hard place. We keep hearing about these cars bottoming out and riding rough, and I think it gets magnified when you sit up there and ride on a bump stop. We'd say, well, why don't you get it off the bump stop? Well, you can make it drive better, but it's going to probably be slower when you get it up off the bump stop.
Yeah, and anything you gain, and say you get the car driving really good, but it's slow. Guess where everybody's going to be when your handling advantage you have kicks in? You won't be able to find them. They'll be long gone. So you've got to try to find that happy medium. This is some aggressive practice. There's 3 wide back here in the middle of the corner, and a lot of cars moving around, not handling good. There you go.
Oh, one goes around in the wall.
Mike Bliss, Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson. Boy, Kyle Busch just barely gets through there.
Did you see Kyle Busch?
Wow. You could smell that happening, though, through 3 and 4.
Just what I just said. I don't like what I'm seeing.
Don't sweat it. We'll get it taken care of for you.
20 cars killed.
Well, I don't know, Zip. I don't think you get that one taken care of.
Zippy, the right front's up in the firewall, buddy.
Didn't hit anything.
Well,
I've hit the back of the 11 pretty hard. 4 flat tires. And
Jimmy Johnson did collect the commit cone coming onto pit road. Let's see what happens. Watch the 36 of Bliss.
Well, this
right in the middle.
This is what got my attention when I said that some cars up there, they're not real fast, being overtaken by some cars that are. The 36 car gets loose, and away he goes. Boy, I want you to watch this 18. Look where 18 is. He's right here. Watch him weave through here. Yep. Yep.
Wow.
And he had slowed down, but he was still carrying the mail and doing all that weaving and wagging.
That's 150 mile an hour slowed down.
You know what? Mike Bliss was going to hit that wall hard, but that 20 car was there to slow it down from hitting so hard.
This thing here's got quite a bit of damage.
Now Jimmy's, well, here, let's ride with Joey.
Going to come right in front of him. He got nowhere to go. Joey's had a pretty event. Look at that 18 car. That was amazing that he could get through there.
Now, Jimmy Johnson says he didn't hit anything, but that cone did a good bit of damage.
Well, he got in the back of the 11. Yeah, he got in the back of the 11. Not hard.
In front of you.
Then he spun, as he said, and he's got 4 flat tires.
Stay next to the grass.
And let's ride with Denny Hamlin.
Go low. Go down Fair Road. Just slow up.
Nice.
Slow up. Car inside.
Ooh.
Yeah, the 20 and the 36 absolutely will be going to backup cars. There's no question.
Jimmy and Chad talk it over. We'll be back.
NASCAR's back, and we're there in Daytona for a pair of races on the high banks, the Gatorade Duel. Be there live as the hammer comes down, rivalries reignite, and when the smoke clears, the field is set for the 500. The Gatorade Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 p.m. Eastern. The season starts here. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
More than $1.
Head out to the track for all the fun and excitement of live thoroughbred racing. This Sunday and every Sunday is Dollar Day, where general admission, general parking, programs, hot dogs, sodas and beers are just $1 each. Don't miss all the heart and hoof-pounding action at Golden Gate Fields with Dollar Day every Sunday.
Comcast wants to know what you really want out of your internet service.
I want super fast internet. Like, oh my gosh, look how fast.
You want it, you got it. Comcast has speeds up to 20 megabits per second with Power Boost.
I want to watch movies, videos, and TV shows all online.
You want it, you got it. Presenting high-speed internet that's built for watching video. Comcast Internet Service. Lots of options to choose from with everyday low pricing starting at just $24.95 a month.
Tomorrow, NASCAR racing's back, and we're there in Daytona for a pair of races on the high banks. Be there as the field is set for the Daytona 500. It's the Gatorade Duel at Daytona. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. And as we mentioned, it's only on Speed.
On Speed tomorrow.
Here's what just happened to put the track under the red flag. Watch the 36 of Mike Bliss.
He didn't. I thought he may have gotten a little tap from the inside there, but he didn't. And Larry, we were just talking about there was a possibility that Bliss could actually lock himself in to the second race tomorrow if things went right in the first race. Now they got trouble.
Yeah, because he'll have to go to a backup car, and he'll have to go to the rear of the field to start that dual race.
Let's go down to the Joe Gibbs garage. You see they already have that first car covered up. And let's hear from Joey Logano.
Well, Joey, what happened?
That's a good question. I didn't really get to see what happened. I think I guess the 36 got loose or got tagged or something. I don't know what happened, but so he just got loose and maybe overcorrected or something. It just swung back out in front of me. I had nowhere to go. it's a shame the old Home Depot Toyota's pretty much shot there. So I'm pretty sure our backup car is our shootout car from the other night. So I was actually happy with the way that one was driving. I was more happy with that one than I am with this one. So I'm sure the boys will work hard and get it figured out and get that one good. So hopefully we can get a run out there and just see what it does. So we have something to work off of for the duel. So we'll see. It's a shame. I mean, it wasn't a bad car, but plan B, I guess, right?
Well, there's a silver lining if you like that car better. Thanks, Joey.
I tell you, the one thing I'm really impressed with, we interviewed him last year down here. You remember, he was shaking.
Yeah.
He was trembling, and he had found himself in the wall a couple of times during practice, almost every time he went out. Yeah. And he really was just confused and wasn't sure what to tell the team. And this time, so composed,
confident,
so confident. He knows that he knows that he's got his act together.
Speaking of act together, I think his teammate has his act together when he's out there on that racetrack. Kyle Busch is just, his car control is unbelievable.
There's been two amazing pieces of driving that I've seen down here over the last few days. One was just now with Kyle. The other was with Danica in that ARCA race, when she got off the track and came back on, and the way she operated the wheel, letting go of it, grabbing it, clutching it, braking it, gassing it, that was pretty cool too.
Bull Run, one hell of a ride. This February, exclusively on Speed.
H&R Block at Home. It's fast. It's easy. And it's written in plain English. But most of all, H&R Block at Home is about getting your taxes done right. As the next generation of tax cut, H&R Block at Home uses the knowledge we've gained serving over 500 million customers, giving you the confidence you'll need to hit the send button. Try H&R Block at Home and get it right.
With 417 foot-pounds of torque, 403 horsepower, and an automatic rear locking differential, the GMC Sierra can do jobs other trucks can't. Never send a truck to do a Sierra's job. Get 0% APR for 60 months, plus $2,000 total cash back on select Sierras in stock, or $5,000 cash back on select Sierras in stock. GMC Sierra, may the best truck win.
Sometimes we like to practice a bit before we go shopping.
How can I help you, sir?
I want the lowest price, then go lower.
I don't have that kind of authority!
Plus free delivery, even on Sunday.
Unheard of!
We're ready.
Fortunately, we have the lowest prices around, so there's no need to rehearse.
And Lowe's has free next day delivery every day. Andy actually turned out to be really helpful and nice.
Experience Lowe's. Let's build something together. Come to Lowe's and get 10% off major Energy Star appliances.
An American tradition continues as Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes Speed Weeks continues in Daytona. Get up to speed on all the happenings in the garage with NASCAR Live this afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
You know, Larry, more than probably any time I can remember, these crew chiefs and drivers are going to be glad when all this practice is over with.
No question. There has been some race cars torn up just in the practices, and we haven't had that many practices.
Right, of course, for the Bud Shootout, they got the big wreck down here in Turn 1, and then in the Bud Shootout itself, big wreck over at the last lap in Turn 3. Those are cars that we don't even count almost.
Well, not including backup cars, here is how they are scheduled to line up for Gatorade Duel number 1. 27 cars in each dual race.
And you saw Bill Elliott and Joe Nemechek up there in the top 10. Those guys are locked in on their speed. And another car that'll be starting in the top 10, Michael Waltrip, is not locked in yet in that 51 car.
So in race number 1, there are the race-in cars. Elliott and Nemechek locked in on speed. So they're the drivers who are hopeful of a starting spot in duel number 1. We'll take a look at duel number 2 in a moment. First, here's Krista.
Mike, we've caught up with Jimmy Johnson out of his race car. And Jimmy, the gossip down here is that the 48, it doesn't look bad from this side, but you guys are going to a backup.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only thing I hit was the 11 car. When he checked up, I got into him really hard, but it did some damage to the front end of the car, and we just can't get it right here. So we know we've got a great race car in the truck. We'll bring it out, send this one back to Charlotte, and let it be repaired the right way in Charlotte in case we need it after the duels. So we have a good strategy. We certainly wanted to keep this car, and it from the outside doesn't look all that damaged, but the splitter height and the nose is twisted. It needs to be right if we're going to have it for a backup down here.
How wild is it out there right now?
I thought things were wild, and here's the biggest problem. Guys have different theories on where they want to blend on the racetrack. Some people stay on the bottom, others think they blend on the top. And either way, there's a draft of 18 to 20 cars coming, and we're like a snake weaving through these cars, and cars coming in and off at different speeds. And I don't believe that's what caused this wreck, but there were a lot of other crazy moments because of that. I need to go to the tape and see what happened here, because I was just riding along, I thought everything was fine, and next thing you know, I was in the middle of it.
Ideally, where should you blend out there on the racetrack? What's the perfect spot to do that?
Really, we just need to pick one spot and have that be it. But I think the bottom, so that a slow car does not have to cross to the outside lane. If all the slow cars would stay on the bottom until they were up to speed, and also they need to fall in at the tail end of the pack, and not have that big speed difference, that would be helpful. But I think the bottom's the place to be.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. Dick Berggren.
We'll get back with Dick in a moment. The track is open once again for practice. Marcus Ambrose. Excuse me, that's Matt Kenseth out front in the 17, not the 47.
Mike,
here's Duel 2.
Duel 2, but real quick, the fastest car, like Marcos Ambrose, 46.53. The slowest car over here is in the 49. Oh, what happened to Michael? He's got a left rear
flat tire, yeah.
Caution's out.
But there is a big disparity in speed from the faster cars to some of the slower cars. I'd say he got hit in the left rear and cut that tire down, maybe. Wow, man, he's been out there already.
Boy,
my goodness. That's the second time he's been over there like that.
Yeah, the last thing Michael needs to do is tear another race car up in practice.
I believe he needs to change that number again. The number's not working. That's the third time. Twice off that corner, once in the Bud shootout, that time, and then got hit down here going into 3 by Ryan Newman.
Wow. Now, we are told that the spin by Brian Vickers earlier was due to a flat rear tire that sent him around as he was coming through the trial. Well, didn't just lose it, but he had a tire going down. Let's go down to the garage and Krista.
All right, the other side of the story, you heard Jimmy Johnson talk about where that he hit Denny Hamlin pretty hard. We see the damage on the back end of your car, Denny. It's getting pretty wild out there.
Yeah, I think we're done for the most part, until the 150s. But yeah, I think it's just vision. I saw the wreck before he did, and vice versa. There's someone behind him probably didn't see the wreck until after he did. And you're just in a dicey group right there. It's a lot of cars trying to get up to speed, and a lot of cars that were already up to speed, and that kind of made for a bad mix, especially during that portion. So our damage isn't as bad as what his is, of course, but we can repair our car, and we'll get it ready for the 150s. But our FedEx Camrys, we've taken it from a C car to a B plus car. I think we definitely got something that can win now.
Thanks, Denny. Mike.
Thanks, Krista. 43 of the 54 drivers have been on track in this session, which has been a wild one thus far.
Man says he's had enough.
Meet the daring who face down fear behind the wheel. All new episode, Dangerous Drives, Executive Protection. Next Wednesday at 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
When it comes to dependability, some talk the talk. We prefer to walk the walk.
Well, the pits are open, and here they all come.
That's our philosophy. We're proud that teams use us.
Sunoco fuel going in.
Instead of talking about the finish, we like to take you there. Sunoco, the official fuel of NASCAR, Grand Am, AMA Pro Racing, the SCCA, and the official fuel of victory. Every week, every race, every win.
Oh, Grandmaster, finally we've found you. We've traveled to the farthest corners of the world to ask you to energize and invigorate our minds.
Energy? From me? That's why you have come all this way?
Yes, Grandmaster. We would like you to show us the ways of meditation.
Here, don't you have Red Bull where you come from?
Red Bull gives you wings. Also available in shots.
Right, next please.
If you're looking for the inside track on affordable auto and other types of insurance, ride with the General. We can help you cut the cost of insurance with a down payment as low as $59 and a low monthly payment that will take the pressure off your budget. Log on to thegeneral.com now for an instant quote and immediate proof of insurance. Don't end up with a loser. Ride with a winner.
For the best car insurance rates online, go to the General and save some time.
Speed's coverage of Sprint Cup practice is brought to you by Alien vs. Predator, 2010's biggest multi-species, multiplayer event. And by Gillette. Team up with the Gillette Young Guns on Gillette500.com. Cars waiting for the track to be cleared from Michael Waltrip's spin, which interrupted our look at the lineup for Gatorade Duel number 2, which also includes half of the teams that were in the top 35 in owner points this year, plus this last year, plus a number of teams that have to try to race their way in.
Saw Scott Speed and Bobby Labonte in the top 10. That's 2 of the cars. They are already locked in, that cars that are outside the top 35 by virtue of their speed.
Now this is the lineup based on qualifying. It is not reflective of who might have to go to the rear due to the use of backup cars, and there will be some.
Mike, one of the things that I know the drivers have complained about with the wing on the back of these cars, and particularly at Daytona and Talladega, where you run so close together, it's hard to see over that wing and see through the race cars. As a driver, I used to look through the rear window of the car in front of me to see what was ahead of me. And with that wing up there where it is, and you can see here, when you're up tight underneath another car, I don't know how much obstruction that is. I got to believe it's some.
And this is not a true view here because this camera is much higher than where that driver's sitting in that race car.
Let's find out what happened to the 36 of Mike Bliss.
Well, Mike has left the care center, Mike. He is back in a backup car right now, working on the seat belt, steering wheel position, and so forth, trying to get ready to go out and what's left of this practice session. What got that big crash started?
I was out there and I knew I was going to be a sitting duck. But anyway, I was 3 wide, guy underneath, and I heard the guy on the inside get out of the gas. I heard a big mom, and then felt like I just barely got hit in the left rear, and then it just tank slapped on me, and just a bad deal. I mean, this Wave Energy drink Chevrolet was really, really fast. It was really handling good, and I kind of mad at myself for going back out for second practice.
Mike.
Thanks, Dick. Yeah, that car has gone to the hauler, and Mike already at work in the backup machine.
I think when Mike sees that replay, he'll just see that his car just got loose late exit of turn 4.
Turbulence loose.
NASCAR's back, and we're there in Daytona as the hammer comes down and rivalries reignite. The Gatorade Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 p.m. Eastern. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
When it comes to dependability, some talk the talk. We prefer to walk the walk.
Well, the pits are open, and here they all come.
That's our philosophy.
2 cans of Sunoco.
We're proud that teams use us.
Sunoco fuel going in.
Instead of talking about the finish, we like to take you there. Sunoco, the official fuel of NASCAR, Grand Am, AMA Pro Racing, the SCCA, and the official fuel of victory. Every week, every race, every win.
Are you paying more?
This isn't going to be just any flu season, and expectant moms are especially at risk for serious flu-related complications. So let's join together and fight the flu. The CDC and American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists recommend that pregnant women get both the H1N1 and seasonal flu vaccines. Flu vaccines are safe and are the most effective way to protect yourself and your baby. Get the facts at flu.gov. Together, we can all fight the flu.
60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven permanent hair loss solution, call the toll-free number below to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair, so don't put it off any longer. The phone call is free. The information is free. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 1-800-750-6401. That's 1-800-750-6401.
Are you ready for the wildest collection of talent ever assembled at Trackside? No, not the crew of Trackside. Singers, dancers, comedians, and more in a breakthrough racing entertainment hour. Fast Track to Fame premieres Monday, March 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern on Speed.
And a man named Deuce. Uh-oh. Here's one of those times when the fast cars are flying up into the back of the field here, or the slower cars trying to get up to speed. And you can see what they're talking about. 3 and 4 wide here because fast ones are coming and the slow ones are not getting out of the way.
The fast about to get into the furious.
Yeah.
Hey, you see David Rudiman in the 00 car back out there in his backup car from that first practice crash.
And it really is, it's a timing thing and a blend. As you said, a blend. You learn absolutely nothing if you go out there and just run laps by yourself. You've got to get up in with the other cars, but how you blend in is turning into a real issue, looks to me like.
But to your point, Darrell, the speed difference between the fast cars and the not so fast cars is 1.5 seconds. And that's
big.
It creates, along with this different plate, a very significant closing rate. Things happen. Now, to that end, NASCAR this morning in the driver safety briefing discussed the possibility of amending the green-white checker rule for all 3 of their National Touring Series, Sprint Cup, Nationwide, and the Camping World Truck Series. If they go through with this proposal, and right now they're having discussions with the drivers about it, then the line in the rule book that says 1 attempt at a green-white checker finish, that would be changed, and the word 1 would be struck from the rule book, and they would take multiple attempts at a green-white checker, provided that once the white flag waves, that's the race. Anything that happens after the white flag and the race would be over. But this is quite a shift, and the idea is to have the fans see as much green flag racing as possible and to try to end the event under green. So further details as this story develops, but if this proposal is implemented, it would go into effect immediately and be for all 3 of NASCAR's top series.
Just real quickly, I've been watching Kyle Busch in the 18 car. He was way back at the tail end of this big pack of cars, and I was wondering, so why is he let everybody pass him? And I was wondering, what is he doing anyway? Well, you know what he was doing? Look where he is on the time and scoring chart now.
Second fastest.
And he jumped up there after he got that big run off of all these cars. I think he wanted to get a fast lap, but now he wants to see if he's got a car good enough to get through this bunch of cars.
And you know what? I had the pleasure of working with Dale Earnhardt Sr., and that's the way he would do his practice here. He would get at the back, and if he could make his way to the front or close to the front with a big pack of cars, he knew he had a fast car and a good driving race car.
Let's check with Dick.
Lance McGrew is Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief. He's watching his car go around the racetrack. How's it going for you today?
Really good. Dale likes the way the car's driving. The Amp Energy's car has been good all weekend. We're qualified good, so we're looking forward to the 150 tomorrow. We made a kind of a bunch of changes, a little bit unconventional for us to what we normally do, but we feel like the 150 is a good opportunity for us to try out some new things. So that's what we're doing right now.
Okay, wish you well. And they're on their original car as opposed to so many that are already into backups, Mike.
Well, that's true. Boy, there was a close call, though. He almost was in a backup car.
That's still optimistic because practice isn't over with yet. But
that's true.
I'm just looking at the timing and scoring chart again, watching these guys run. Right now, we've got 4 Toyotas at the top of the field here. And you got Reed Sorensen. We talked about him earlier and what that car had some potential. And he's jumped up to 3rd quick on the timing and scoring chart. And that is a huge gaggle right there.
You know, Reed Sorensen is driving for Todd Braun, who runs full-time in the Nationwide Series at operation. I've always said that's probably the strongest Nationwide Series operation with no Cup affiliation.
There's the 32, middle of your screen in yellow, of Reed Sorensen.
Car looks pretty solid. I've been watching him. He's been able to run high, been able to run low. He looks pretty comfortable with people all around him, and his time is indicative of that.
Now, you mentioned Joey Logano. That he posted that time on his first lap on track. That car is now wrecked and in the hauler, and Logano will go to a backup. Matt Kenseth is the fastest Ford. Brad Keselowski the fastest Dodge, and somewhat surprisingly, the fastest Chevy is down in 13th. That would be Juan Montoya.
And a lot like that first practice, the fastest Hendrick Motorsports car is Jimmy Johnson, who is 16th. And again, that was in that car that is now headed back to Charlotte to be repaired as they get their backup car ready to try to get on the track.
Well, Larry, we talked about this in our qualifying show, I believe it was. And the Hendrick cars certainly showed that they had the horsepower to set on the pole. They got the front row. But we haven't been impressed, and I haven't you either, with the way they've raced. Even last year at some of the restrictor plate races, they just didn't seem to have the package for racing that they did for qualifying.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson did finish second here in the July race, but it was Virtue. They just really, him and Chad really worked on getting that car to drive good, which we know is even more important in July.
And I was surprised to hear Lance McGrew say that Dale was happy with the car. Maybe he is today, but I don't believe he was Saturday night in the Bud Shootout, because he ran at the back and really complained about his car the whole race.
Is there such a big difference between these cars? NASCAR's worked so hard with the COT platform that all the cars should be very much alike. So I'm a little surprised to hear drivers talk about, well, this car is so much better than that car that they have.
I think the difference is the difference. It doesn't take but just a little bit of difference to make a big difference.
Okay.
I think you can miss it really badly with this car, maybe worse than you could the other car. But if you get this car a little bit better than everybody else's, you really do look like you've got a huge advantage.
Dave Blaney trying to race his way in for Prism Motorsports in that Toyota. He is 46 on the chart. Clint Boyer looks things over from a rather safe-looking perch, the way things have gone on the track today.
Frost brewed Coors Light. How cold is it? It's chilled down to 34 degrees. For a taste as cold as the Rockies. It's aged cold. It's filtered cold. And it's served in cans, bottles, and glasses that tell you when it's cold. Why? Because refreshment isn't everything. It's the only thing. Frost brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Lots of numbers go through my head in a race. There's my position, the RPM, how many laps are left, but lately it's just this one number, $5 foot long. No matter how loud the engine is, I just can't get it out of my head.
That's because now at Subway, any regular footlong is just $5. That's right, you made them famous, so to thank you, we're making any delicious regular footlong a $5 footlong. Race in today for your favorite.
Subway, eat fresh.
We're here to answer questions about TaxSlayer.com. Go ahead. Yeah, John?
Is TaxSlayer easy to use?
Yes. Sam?
Would you say the quality is matched or unmatched?
Unmatched.
And the price?
$9.95 for federal. Go ahead.
What's it like to slay a dragon?
It's awesome. Well, Sarah?
What would you say is the coolest feature on TaxSlayer.com?
The extreme refund generator. Go ahead.
How many maidens have you rescued?
From dragons or bad accountants?
Dragons.
16. Thank you. Make sure to visit TaxSlayer.com and start your returns for free.
Same start times all season long. Same start times all season long.
I got a line you like.
Yeah, it's close.
Speed's presentation of Sprint Cup practice is brought to you by the Sponsafire. Visit ToyotaRacing.com starting Friday and enter your design. by Marathon, fueling the American spirit. And by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Try a new way to indulge in Hershey's. About 15 minutes left in this practice session when Ernie Banks, the great shortstop of the Chicago Cubs, Mr. Cub, famously said, "Let's play two." He wasn't talking about 2 cars in one afternoon of practice, was he?
No. And I think there needs to be another category there, close call, and that would include Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Michael Waltrip in close calls. But how about this 20 car? I know this is the car that they ran in the shootout, but Greg Zipadelli and that whole group got Joey back out on the racetrack in less than 30 minutes after this happened right here.
Yeah, Logano was just a victim of Mike Bliss's spin. This happened at 2:11. And 28 minutes later, after rolling out the backup car, checking it out, getting Logano in it, and having NASCAR check it over for safety compliance, they rolled it back out on the track.
And it probably helped that a lot of the safety inspection had been done because of it being the Budweiser shootout car.
Right, that car was probably just rolled up in a trailer right after the race, so theoretically you roll it out, wipe it off, and put some air in the tires and go.
The most laps run in this practice looks like David Reagan and Casey Kane. They've each run 20 laps so far.
Kyle Busch, second on the board, but he also leads the field in 2 important categories: fastest 5 consecutive laps and fastest 10 consecutive laps. That's a hot rod right there.
It is, and I know that car has to be handling really well. By the way he bobbed and weaved through that wreck that was in front of him, that car, you know, he was able to cut it left, cut it right pretty abruptly, and it didn't try to spin out or anything. So good handling car will keep you out of trouble.
And this has been a fairly long run here, because remember we pointed out that several minutes ago he started at the back of the pack. Now he's been working his way through the pack. The pack has changed cars. Some has left, some has joined. But this has been a long run for this group.
Well, he ended up with a pretty good finish in the Bud shootout the other night, but I don't think he was terribly pleased with the car, not what he had been used to having down here.
Well, that 46 just did quite a bob and weave there. Terry Cook on the bottom. Everybody gets through.
I tell you, the car that really tricks me every now and then is that 43 car, Allmendinger.
Yeah.
The way the paint is on it, the way the stripe runs up the side of it, looks like it's sideways a lot of times.
It's true.
See right there, the car looks like it's real sideways. I think it's just a paint scheme.
Five minutes to go in this practice session, which is final practice for the Gatorade Duel. Dick?
With the winner of the 2009 Daytona 500, Matt Kenseth, how good is your stuff for the 2010 500?
I don't know. Tomorrow's going to be a good test. I was pretty happy with the speed of our car. It seems real fast and it sucks up real good, but it seems pretty slick out there. Everybody seems like they're sliding around a lot, and our car wasn't really an exception. So we still need to work on the balance a little bit, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow's race. I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Good. Thank you very much. We wish you well tomorrow.
Matt Kenseth sixth in this practice.
I think he's going to be pretty tough come Sunday.
I think you're right. Marcus Ambrose winning practice right now.
Tonight, an American tradition is renewed as Speed sets the stage for Daytona's biggest events. The Hershey's Milk and Milkshake Speed Weeks at Daytona. Coverage continues tonight. NASCAR on Speed. Be there.
No, not now. Come on, please.
Oh, great.
Nothing's worse than a dead battery. And nothing's more reliable than a Duralast battery. Engineered to start day in and day out, even under the most extreme conditions. Duralast. Proven tough. Only at AutoZone.
Guys, the electrical field is not slowing down.
Got right into a trade. I got into plumbing, and I never looked back. WyoTech. If this is what you want to do, this is the perfect place for you to be. We had no more than 15 people in the class. You get hands-on. Before you look, it's over.
I was working within a month after I graduated.
I have a career. I'm making way more money now.
This trade is in demand.
People need us. My name is Ivan.
My name's Nevis.
And my school is WyoTech.
Get in the fast track to a career. Turn pro at WyoTech. 1-800-720-1834.
If you own a recalled Toyota, maybe it's time you owned a Ford from Bill Brandt Ford in Brentwood. Bill Brandt Ford's reliable lineup of cars, trucks, and SUVs include Motor Trend's 2010 Car of the Year, the Ford Fusion, and more. Right now, if you currently own one of these eligible Japanese imports, you can receive $1,000 toward the purchase or lease of an eligible 2009 or 2010 Ford car, SUV, or truck. Great deals on America's reliable brand, Ford, are waiting at your hometown dealer, Bill Brandt Ford in Brentwood. Drive one.
Produced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
50 of 54 cars have practiced. You see Joey Logano fourth on the board. That was before the crash. His backup car, his best lap, is 25th fastest on the day. Quick review of the go-or-go homers. In this session, Reed Sorensen, far and away the fastest, driving that number 32 Toyota. Then Eric Almirola in the 09 Chevrolet. Joe Nemechek in his own number 87 Toyota. Todd Bodine in Kirk Shelmerdine's number 27 is fourth. Mike Wallace fifth. Bill Elliott sixth among the go-or-go home crowd.
And of our 5 backup cars from these 2 practice sessions, David Rudeman made it back out there in the 00 car. We saw Joey Logano in the 20. It looks like that the 48, the 36, and the 33 will not be out there with their backups.
Krista?
Montoya's crew told him to pull up just a little bit short. Montoya came up about 30 yards short, said, is that good? They said, nah, get it a little bit closer. Juan in good spirits. He said his race car is just a little bit tight.
Well, I believe, Daryl, and you can certainly answer this better than anyone, I would want a little tug on that steering wheel, the way these cars are driving. You know, you can drive through a push. You can't drive through that thing being loose, getting off in the corner over 190 miles an hour.
Well, when you have a car that's unpredictable, I just let it do one thing. If it's going to be loose, okay, I know it's loose and I know I got to deal with that. If it's going to push, I want it to push. But please don't give me one that's pushing loose, because when you get into the corner and you hit those swales, the car starts to move around and you start going left, right, left, right, left, right on the wheel, and when you do, you spin out or hit something.
Big Daddy in front of that train. Jeff Gordon, and there are the flags. This practice session is over. Marcus Ambrose, the Aussie, wins practice. But I think the most impressive drive I saw in that whole hour was Kyle Busch.
I'll tell you what else is impressive. Look at all those Fords that we said, you know, they didn't qualify all that well, but they look like they may be getting ready to race.
Yeah, they only had 2 in the top 20 on Saturday's qualifying.
Fastest Dodge, 13th Keselowski. Fastest Chevy, 14th Montoya. So we'll pack it up and get ready for the Gatorade Duel at Daytona tomorrow afternoon live right here on Speed.
Yeah, I just think these practice sessions didn't mean anything. What are we going to see when it counts?
Just you wait.
She's going to be about 20 degrees hotter.
All right, Steve Burns has NASCAR Live across the break. We'll see you tomorrow.
Don't need nothing but a good time. How can I resist? Ain't looking for nothing but a good time.
Come see how NASCAR's big boys play Capture the Flag at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The Cobalt Tools 500 weekend, March 5th through 7th. Tickets start at only $39. Call 1-8779-AMS-TIX or go to atlantamotorspeedway.com.
And it don't get better than this.
I'm really proud to be a part of it. Love, it's pretty amazing. Her name is Amanda Brookman, and she is my destiny, although she may not know that, per se. So you can go online and make any kind of car you want. I made a love car. Do I think they stand a chance? I mean, who doesn't love love? I love love.
Who?
This Friday.
Remember all the myths about Greek gods and goddesses? Well, they're not myths.
Don't open your eyes.
Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief. Rated PG. Friday.
Half the calories. All the G.
Half the calories.
All the G.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Sting like a bee.
Half the calories. All the G. I know that's right.
We now offer phone service for $1.70 a month with Magic Jack. That's just $19.95 a year. $19.95 a year. We give you free local and long distance and your own phone number. Replace your phone company or add a second line with Magic Jack.
NASCAR Live, back at the Daytona International Speedway, where truthfully, some teams in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series garage breathing a sigh of relief as the second of two practices comes to a close. Some bent-up race cars, and in fact, some teams going to backup cars for tomorrow's Gatorade Duel here on Speed. We'll have that for you in just a moment. Let's take a look now at your menu, the Speed menu. NASCAR Live at 5, that's an hour long, and that'll lead up to the Camping World Truck Series practice. Trucks racing here on Friday night at the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway. Well, as we said, two practices, both of them completed. Final practice, in fact, just over for tomorrow's Gatorade Duel, and they were not incident-free. Let's take a look at what happened in the first practice. Bad news for Clint Boyer. He said it was a right front flat tire. He goes up the hill. David Rudiman in the 00 gets into the back of him, and then Derek Cope in the 75 also into the back of Rudiman. Backup cars for both Boyer and Rudiman. Second practice, also some action there. Brian Vickers in the 83 goes around coming off of turn 4. Fortunately, not a lot of damage to Vickers' number 83. He was able to continue on. And then Mike Bliss in the 36 off of 4 comes right across the bow of Joey Logano. Heavy contact for Bliss, Logano, heavy contact. And Jimmy Johnson also from on board Joey Logano's car. See, it happens quickly off of turn 4. Let's take a look at who was fastest. Bit of a surprise, Marcus Ambrose in that number 47 car was quickest. Kyle Busch just did miss that accident between Logano, Bliss, and it also caught up Jimmy Johnson. Busch does an amazing job. You see Reed Sorensen, great run for him in practice. He was third quickest. Matt Kenseth was also fastest in the first practice. Well, inside the garage, Wendy Venturini and Bob Dillner. We start with Miss Wendy.
Well, thank you, Steve. And here in the Cup Garage, we're catching up with Kurt Busch. Now, Kurt, you had an eventful week last week. Practice today looked a little bit more smooth, and your car looks fast. How did it feel?
Well, thanks. I was just hoping to survive, and I joked with the guys on the radio. I said, hey, about that? We decided we don't have to fix. Line from Days of Thunder. So just finally got settled, you know, and the car feels good. It feels fast. So just maybe one tweak here or there, and we'll go race our car. So Miller Lite Dodge feels pretty solid.
What did you observe out there? Because things did get a little bit crazy, even from our most experienced veterans.
What's tough and more troubling this time around with the way that the cars pick up on one another, the closing rate. Then with everybody blending in, that makes it even tougher as well. So tomorrow everybody starts at the same time. We have a race going on instead of practice. Should be much calmer.
All right, thanks to Kurt Busch as day's going to continue on. And let's head over to Bob Dillner with a guy that was pretty fast in this practice session.
That's right. Steve Burns mentioned this guy, Reed Sorensen, third quick in that session. Does that give you a sigh of relief going into tomorrow's Gatorade Duel as a guy that's not locked in?
No, no relief at all. I probably won't sleep tonight just because it's very nerve-wracking, but I think we did pretty good with the car. Going in today, we had 4 laps on the Dollar General car, and you know this is the first time Trent Owens has worked with a Cup car, so we learned as much as we could in the 2 practices we had. We didn't have much time, and we got the car a lot better. We're still going to make changes tonight and try to get it to turn a little bit better, but it's running good. I'm pretty happy with it, and I wish we had one more practice to kind of work with each other and work on this car a little more, but that's all we get.
Put me behind the wheel of your car right now. Where is it good, and where do you need to improve?
I think, with this new plate, you definitely got to have the car good on long runs. And the way that last practice went, with a couple cautions there, we really didn't get as many laps on the tires as we wanted. I think we need the front end to work a little bit better. And I think they have a few ideas of what they can do. The rear of the car is actually really good. And that's always good here, especially when the sun's out. You always lose rear grip. So if we can get the front a little better, I think we'll get the Dollar General car in the race, hopefully. And tomorrow night we can finally sleep.
Reed Sorensen, it'll be a sleepless night for him leading up to tomorrow's Gatorade Duel right here live on Speed, Wendy.
Thanks, Bob. And on this side of the Cup Garage, it's a little bit more at ease. Now, this point of the day, they're not worried about wrecking that race car from the first 2 practice sessions earlier today. We saw a lot of guys already had to go to a backup car. We saw those backup cars make it onto the racetrack, so that was a bonus for a lot of those teams. But for other drivers, their primary cars still looking good here in the Cup Garage. The Daytona 500 primary cars in good shape after practice 1 and 2 on this Wednesday afternoon, headed into the duels for tomorrow. These guys that haven't gone to backups feel pretty good about their race cars so far. Bob?
Well, some of the guys involved in those incidents have gone to their backup cars, have gotten them on the racetrack. One team that didn't get back on the racetrack is Mike Bliss and the Wave Energy drink number 36. That's Tommy Baldwin's race team. He did not get back out there, and that's because the backup was not quite ready. So it'll be very interesting for Mike Bliss going into tomorrow's Gatorade Duel without any laps on that race car. Steve Burns?
Yeah, Bob, and as Reed Sorensen said, sleepless nights for all those drivers who are not locked into the Daytona 500. Tomorrow's racing provides some of the biggest drama and most emotional moments that you'll see for the entire season, because getting in the Daytona 500 is important for these race teams. Well, a little bit later on, we'll be back here, 5 p.m. exactly. We'll be here to lead you into the Camping World Truck Series practice from the World Center of Racing. Also wrap up the practices that you saw. Matt Kenseth, you see that 17, talking about the cars sliding around here on this big, slick super speedway. So stay with us here on Speed for over 130 hours of coverage. Happy to bring it to you. For those of you snowed in the Mid-Atlantic, stay with us. It's cool here, but we're having a good time at the Daytona International Speedway. Stay with us here on Speed. See you at 5 Eastern.
All I gotta say, it's about time I got behind the wheel of one of these Dodge Challenger SRT8s. 425 horsepower under the hood, doesn't get much better. But you know us, we can't leave anything alone. We got a little bit of exhaust work going on, a little bit of tires, and Brian's 33 hot rod coming at you. So how do you like to ride, man?
I used to get to do the driving around here. I mean, come on.
Doesn't it feel good to share?
You're the smart guy. I'm the driver. Get it.